Hi there, everyone. Momos Najmi here on the World of Momos podcast. And today, on our episode of Reflections and Reactions, we got Anter. And I'll let him introduce himself first. Go ahead.
Hello, nice to see you. My name is Anter Yasa, and I live in Finland. I'm a Kurdish refugee, and I work as a journalist in this country. And I've lived in Finland since 1996, and I'm an ex-Muslim.
Yeah. So, the main reason of us talking today, apart from me really liking him, anyways, is that we're both ex Muslims and we want to cover a few topics around Islam and around being an ex-Muslim within the West. We want to also talk about the betrayal that a lot of ex-Muslims are starting to feel and have been feeling for a while from the political left. But first, I think so what would be really good is for people to know a bit about your background, about because a lot of people don't know about Kurds and also the Kurd refugees and stuff, and their whole dynamic of them being the actual refugees, as we were talking about before recording. You guys don't really have a home to go back to. So
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us about that and about like how you came
Well,
in Finland and so on.
well. Talking about leftist, my history is actually very ironic because my parents were both Marxist-Leninist Kurdish people.
Yeah.
and because of that, they got persecuted by the Turkish government that wanted to quell the Kurdish Marxist movements around 80s and 90s. And because of that, my father got jailed and he's still in prison. He got a 36-year prison sentence
Oh,
from,
he's still in prison
yes,
in Turkey.
yes. And
Oh,
he's
wow.
supposed to get free next year, I think, but he's been there for like 30 years.
Wow.
And because of that, I was something like 3 years old, 3.5 years old. My mother had to escape because in Turkey they have this bed law that if your husband is committed from terrorism, you're gonna get charged too. So they were going to charge my mom also, and I
Yeah,
was
the
gonna
real
be
the actual feminist religion, isn't it? So true.
yes.
Yeah.
But at that time Turkey wasn't so Islamist. It was more like a
Oh, really? Oh.
authoritarian fascist country at more like at that time. That was before Erdogan came in the picture.
Hmm.
But that's why my mom had to flee, and she came to Finland because we had some family here
Hmm.
previously. They who had come here from at 70s, 60s. They've been here for a long time, and because of that, we fled to Finland under a political refugee status. We were both granted it, and I became a Finnish citizen when I was something like 10 years old.
So so you haven't really known your father like
No,
for the whole of your life, for the whole like,
no,
and it's not as if a lot of people don't have their fathers because they don't want to be a part of it, but he has been taken away from you. I mean, it might
yes.
be an ideology that me and you both disagree with, Marxists. I think
Oh,
so.
he's not a Marxist anymore. I
Yeah,
don't
I
think
know,
so.
obviously that got kicked out of him, didn't it? But
Yeah.
but but the thing is, like, even though me and you might see Marxism as one of the enemy ideologies of the West, still we would not want someone with Marxist
No.
ideology to be treated in.
Oh, I'm actually very sympathetic. I'm very sympathetic
Yeah.
to leftist ideologies, and in my heart, I'm still the leftist liberal that I've always
Mm.
been. But it's not like I changed. It seems like they changed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like
Or
I've
they
always
reveal
been this.
themselves what they were.
Yes, they reveal themselves for what
But
they actually
how
were
has your
because
dad been? How has your dad been treated then so far? Like, because it's
oh
been
well,
like
you
a
know the
whole like
Turkish
30
prisons.
years is so long. Actually, I actually, yeah, that's a good idea to tell people like what is it been like the experience within Turkish.
Oh, he got charged with Kurdish terrorism, which is like he was a part of allegedly part of the PKK, which is labeled as a terrorist
Hmm.
organization, Marxist-Leninist terrorist
Hmm.
organization, but which is not actually like
Yeah.
terrorist. You know,
Yeah.
and they fought against ISIS. They're not doing civilian attacks and
Hmm.
stuff like that. and they practice feminism and democracy and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And he was charged being a member of it. And actually, he was a teacher. He was teaching chemistry and stuff like that. And because he
Mm.
was teaching chemistry, they charged him with like you were trying to make a bomb or something like that. But that's all bullshit. He was not trying to do that. He was a chemistry teacher and he was a Kurdish nationalist. He wanted to talk his
Yeah.
own language. He
Yeah.
he wrote books in his own language. He was supporting Kurdish Marxist groups and stuff like that. And that is enough of a reason to be charged with terrorism. And he got the maximum penalty of 36 years without actually doing any crime.
See, this is why I don't understand Turkey's involvement in NATO, right? So Turkey,
Yeah,
like, it is not. And historically, Turkey has been an enemy of the West, right? Because we have had
but Turkey
incursions like.
joined NATO. Turkey joined NATO in the 50s, and it was a
Mm,
very different country in the 50s. It was a very Western secular country.
yeah, but when you know the origins of a country, you have to be. It's sort of like asking Russia to be part of it. If, let's say,
Oh,
if there was a period when Putin wasn't there, right, and instead of Putin there was a very friendly guy, whatever, whatever, and they said, okay, yeah, yeah, Russia is very nice,
yeah.
have him in. And as soon as Putin came in, then he would have destroyed the whole concept of NATO, right? So that's how I see Turkey. It's like all the Eastern European countries and other countries know that they have been fighting against Turkey since a millennia, right? Like,
I
this
think I
war has
think
been going
before
on.
before the West thought that the Middle East would
Appeasement.
actually
Yeah.
would slowly grow out of Islamism, would slowly grow out of Islam and become secular and become westernized. And that was the trajectory for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I can actually like pinpoint a couple of things. For example, the Arab Spring,
Yeah. Yeah.
which actually was a Islamist revolution. It
Yeah.
was not democratic.
No.
It was an
No.
Islamist revolution. And after the Arab Spring, the Middle East actually became very, very Islamist. All of the leaders
Mm.
revealed that they are Islamists. They're not secular. They're not
Yeah.
westernized. And this has been the trajectory since the Arab Spring. And I blame Obama.
Yeah. Yeah. But so this is the problem. Like in Pakistan, the same thing happened, right? The Pakistan was, as my mom and dad told me, like Pakistan was very liberal. They were going towards a better liberal democracy sort of a thing and ideology and stuff. The founder of Pakistan, Jinnah, he was not a conservative sort of a person. He was not a Islamist. Like, he was a very open-minded person. The reason why there's white color in Pakistan is to actually is for the minorities.
Yeah.
So that's the whole concept was supposed to be. The green is for Muslims, but the white represents the minorities, because all minorities are supposed to have equal rights, right? But as soon as he died, which was a year after Pakistan got independence, that started like a bit changing and stuff. But it wasn't changing that much till the 1970s and that war with Russia and Afghanistan, when America put shitloads of weapon into Pakistan and said, okay, you
Where they have it.
subversively, yeah, you subversively fight against Russia, right? And that's when the one of the generals came in. He took hold of Pakistan and he started creating madrasas and schools and stuff in Pakistan. Before that, there was no concept of that, right?
Yeah.
And Islamism came in through that, right? So
Yeah.
this is, I have always had a problem with America, not
Yeah, me too.
because like what other Islamists have a problem with, right? But I have always had it because they have been interfering in this region without knowing about the region, and because of their interference, they're saying, "Oh, they're bringing democracy." No, no, no. Because of your interference, these things are happening,
They
which
are
is
leaving. They are removing secular leaders. Maybe like they are dictators. Okay, like
hmm,
like Saddam and Gaddafi and
yeah,
all of these people. They were secular, but they were dictators. And what the West thought was like, we're gonna take out of the dictators and the secular dictators, and we're gonna bring democracy.
yeah,
But actually, they just left a power vacuum for all the
yeah,
Islamists the
yeah.
dictator was keeping away.
And so it's just a way of governing, right? And a dictator can be good for a region or can be a bad for a region. It depends on the bloody region,
And I
right? And
actually
for
think
this
Gaddafi
region,
Gaddafi was good for Libya.
yeah,
It
that's
was
what I'm
good for his
saying.
own people.
That Libya needed a dictator because it needed someone to control for a while, and because there was so many corruption elsewhere, it had to be a good person trying to make some way like into that region, right? So but they went, they always go from their ideology, like what they see the world from their eyes only. They don't understand that there is no concept of liberalism outside the Western sphere. People don't understand this concept, like the
No,
liberalism. There's
no,
very
no,
little
no,
concept
no,
of it.
no. We have leftist people in Finland talking about trans and climate liberation of Palestine. This is absolute
It's
madness.
ridiculous, you know.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, people don't so people don't even understand liberalism, so they won't think like you. So why are we imagining them like, oh, they want democracy, they want the same things that we do? It's like, no, no, no. Okay, so no, first thing first, all human beings are not equal, right? All cultures are not equal. People people might want the same things, but not in the same order of priority, or not, and not in the same way, right? So let's say the people in the West, the good people in the West, want a family, want a good nuclear family. The people in the East also want a good nuclear family in like, let's say, Pakistan or somewhere else, right? But on this side in the West, they want a family which is healthy and, like, equal, and have like good ambitions and stuff. Over there, they want a family which they can put in bin bags and in ninja suits, to put them in burqas, right?
Yes,
And they can control, right? So they both
yes.
want family, right? So you can say, oh, they both want the same thing, but it's not the same. It's still not the same thing.
Speaking of burqas, in Finland, we recently, because we have a right-wing government right now, which they call far-right
Yeah,
government,
obviously.
and we had a minister called Riikka Purra who actually she made some negative comments about burqas 10 years ago.
Yeah,
And when she became a minister, all the leftists found her old comments against burqas, where she called
yeah,
them black sacks, which they are. They're black sacks.
yeah. Or
But anyways, leftists made a huge campaign in the beginning of this government in Finland that this lady is a disgusting racist that is calling Muslim women's clothing black sacks and demeaning them and all of this. And we actually had anti-racist marches here where leftist people were holding pancards that said "Jesus burqas, Jesus burqas." About it.
really,
Crazy, crazy. I have a picture I can send you.
it's it's over here in Birmingham, right? So they are building a statue called
Yeah,
the
I saw
strength
it.
of the
I
hijab.
saw it.
Yeah,
I saw it.
strength
Yeah.
of the hijab. It's like, what the actual fuck are
The
you talking?
Iranian women are getting killed. Millions of women are getting enslaved under these death clouds. And Western people are, but I think it's more like this, that they actually they're racist. Like, because why would you defend something that is taking away rights of brown skinned people? Why would you
I,
support it?
I think
Because you're
so.
racist.
You know, you know what it is like. There's a lot of elements, I think, but I think so. It's out of self hate. I think
That
so. There's a
also,
lot
yeah.
of like, so is a resentment and self hate, right? And not owning up to your own responsibilities.
But I don't even think it is self-hate, but I think it's more like projecting self-hate to be smug about it, and then like tell everybody, oh, but I'm not like that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
y'all rest are like that. Oh, all the
yeah,
white people are like this and this and that. But I I
yeah.
I
But I'm not.
I
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
so much better.
yeah.
And that's the actual point. I don't think it's self-hate. It's more like being smug, or more like thinking that only white people are smart enough to be evil. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
a
the
very weird concept. That's such a weird concept. It's like you really don't understand, you know, the why do you think so many of us want to come to the West? Is it because white people are evil?
so
I mean,
evil.
that has to be like such a, that would be a self-hate, right? Like you hate
Yeah,
yourself so much that you're going to the den of the lion to sit over there, right? It's like, no, 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 we're going over there because they are more equal to us than our own people are equal to us,
yeah,
right? In
yeah.
Pakistan, the amount of racism, actual racism that I
Oh,
have
it's
faced,
crazy. Oh, it's
it's
crazy. The
crazy.
racism in Middle East and Pakistan, it's
No,
crazy over
they
there.
don't like, because they don't understand. They think like, oh, all Pakistanis are the same. It's like, no, no, no. Pakistans have different provinces. They're not just different provinces, they're different cultures. They have different languages,
Yeah.
not different dialects, they're different languages.
They
They
don't
all hate each
differentiate. They
other.
don't differentiate this.
No, like for a very long time, now it's sort of a bit changing. For a very long time, like a Punjabi would not want his daughter married to a Sindhi
Yeah.
guy, right? They're both Pakistani, and same with Balochis, same with Pathans and stuff. They would not intermarry even. That's how much
No,
racism was there.
there is a mainstream saying in Turkey that the only good Kurd is a dead Kurd. And this is still what they say. The racism in these countries are
Yeah,
absolute
and it's
extremes.
not this mild racism that you have in West sometimes,
Oh,
right?
oh,
Where you
in
don't
Finland,
you might not get a job, or you
oh,
some
yeah, yeah.
person might say, oh, I don't want to serve you, I don't want to.
Oh,
No, you get
boo-hoo.
killed. Yeah, we get killed.
Yeah. Yeah, but in Finland, like when I talk about like Islamists making me racist threats, like, oh, you're Kurdish, all the Kurds are betraying us, they betrayed ISIS, we're gonna behead you. And when I tell Finnish people about this, they don't really realize that it's racism. It's extreme racism against me, and they actually want to behead me. But if I was a woke leftist who went to media and said that, oh, some white guy looked at me wrong, they would make a huge thing
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
But me getting death threats from Islamists, oh, that's not
No.
that's just brown people bring brown
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Oh, it's their culture. Like people, like I was telling you, like people calling me coconut and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And actually, people said a lot of people on the right said, everyone on the right said, like, that's wrong, man. That's racist. Why is someone discriminating against you on the basis of your color, the color of your skin,
Yeah.
right? And then you had the left wokist, and along with them, the Islamist, which always hide under them, saying like, no, it's not racist. It's like a black person calling another person, another
Oh,
black
yeah,
person,
yeah,
N
yeah,
word.
yeah,
I was like, no.
yeah. Yeah.
It's
You
not the
call us
same.
kuffars, you
Yeah.
call us whatever,
Oh,
you
they
want to
just
kill
it's
us.
a lovingly killing you. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a knife of love. Like, like, go
Yeah,
fuck
it's
yourself,
a
man.
bomb of compassion.
Yeah, exactly. It explodes with my love for you.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, of course. But
Yeah.
like uh I think it's because of like these people don't really have real problems, right? They don't know what real problems
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
what racism is. They've never experienced it.
Yeah.
They've never been oppressed the way we have. They've never
Yeah.
seen so many angry people who actually want to kill you for no reason,
Yeah.
because they always think there is a reason.
Yeah.
Like for example, if a white guy is gonna get killed, they're like, oh, his probably was racist. He did something bad. There is
Mm-hmm.
a reason behind why
Mm.
somebody wants to kill him. But
Yeah.
when I tell them there is absolutely no other reason than me being ex-Muslim and Kurdish, that is enough for these people to want to kill me, they don't really understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, this is why us, like, ex-Muslims now in the West, we get more support from the so-called far right that they are labeling people, right? The working class
It,
people.
it,
The working
it's
class.
not even that, like, because in Finland, like, leftist parties are actually labeling 25% of all Finnish people far right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The so-called far right. They're not far right.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
They're just working class white people, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the reason why we getting support from them is because they have experienced
Seen it.
discrimination.
They've seen it. They've seen
Yeah,
what Muslims do.
exact. And not just that they have experienced discrimination from their own people for years and
Yes.
years and years, right? They were left behind and stuff. The same wounds that the Marxists tried to exploit. And that's why, like, a lot of working class people were with the left, because they were exploiting those wounds, right? But they know when they see us being persecuted, they understand discrimination, because they are the only one that understand discrimination. The middle class elitist and the elite left elite, they don't understand, because they have not experienced adversity. They're these poor people, or these poor white people who are being constantly called, oh, they have privilege and stuff, and they're living in on the poverty line. They know what discrimination is. They
Yeah.
know, like, what happens when the system leaves you behind. They know when there's no justice for them, but there's justice for their fellow white people who are doing a bit too well,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's exactly what Finland is. Finland has been for decades a social democrat country, and this right-wing party was actually a very unique thing that happened in Finland. And because of Finland also has this long history with Russia actually influencing a lot of
Yeah.
the media here. Like the Finnish state media was in the 80s, it was openly known that it was owned by Russians,
Jesus.
and all of this thinking, and it's rooted in Finland. Even if you look at the so-called far right party of Finland, which is
Hmm.
the true Finns that are
Yeah.
actually now running the country,
Yeah.
most of them are socialists.
Yeah.
Most of them are socialists. It's
Yeah.
not like they're right-wing capitalists or
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're socialists. They want
Yeah.
social programs. They want social welfare.
They just
They
like
want all the same things.
yeah. You know what I see, like the difference is they're just socially conservative, right? They're
Socially
socially conservative.
conservative.
Economically, they might be liberal or
There is
socialist and
no
stuff.
economic right in Finland. There is no
Yeah.
economic
Yeah.
right in Finland.
So
No.
is the and calling them far right is like the most ludicrous thing, and
It's crazy.
people don't understand the influence of Russia as well, and that's why I get pissed off at these American conspiracy theorists. They're from America, right? These and they're on the right, right? So they are on politically on the right, and they don't understand the problem with Putin and Russia.
No.
They see, because people are so one dimensional, like both on the right and the left in the West. They don't understand like what regions go through. So in Finland they would know, in Poland where my wife is from they know, because we have on their border with the Belarus, we have.
We know what Russia is, right?
Yeah, exactly, because Russia is constantly giving those radio signals and this propaganda and stuff like that on that Polish side, right, from Kaliningrad or like from the Belarus side. So
Mm.
people over there know, but these conspiracy
Well,
theorists in America on the right side, they're like, oh, they're just going against Russia because it's a left woke and they want war. And so it's like, dude, not
it's crazy.
everything is about you, not everything is about America. Just get out of people's business already.
It's crazy because if you look at America, it's the right wingers who are actually like supporting Russia. But if
Yeah,
you go to
yeah,
Europe, right wing people are so against Russia.
because they know. But this is
Yeah,
a problem, because like, see, this is why I have always had problem with America. It's like it's really good, and if I was American, I would love America, and I probably
yeah.
might be the same as them, right?
I'm
It's a
probably
huge
gonna move to
country.
America someday.
Yeah,
That's what I'm gonna
because
do.
it's so free that, like, you can like actually live freedom, you can taste freedom
Yeah,
over there, right? You talk to their people and you can taste freedom. It doesn't
yeah.
matter if they're right
They're
or
not.
wrong and stuff.
The thing is in Europe we are actually afraid of speaking because we have these freedom
Yeah,
of speech laws, which
yeah,
are actually like
yeah,
always implemented to make more freedom of speech, like against hate speech. Like
yeah,
if we oppose hate
yeah,
speech, it actually creates more
yeah,
freedom of speech. And this is crazy
yeah.
Orwellian thinking, dystopian thinking
And this
that the
wasn't
whole
this is
Europe
not
has.
part of this is not part of Europe. So this is also weird. Like this is not like in the nature of Europe to
Yeah,
suppress
but but
speech.
uh, but I have a theory about these last
Hmm.
last decades wokeness that actually like this is I think you know Majid Nawaz.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Quillam
Yeah,
Foundation
yeah,
guy who used to be an
yeah,
Islamist, and he was actually the first guy talking about the regressive left.
yeah, yeah,
And nowadays I don't really follow him. He's
yeah.
gone a
I
little bit
don't know
cuckoo.
where he's gone. I think so. He's gone to American. That's
he's
all I
he's
can
gone a
say. He's
little bit
gone to
cuckoo.
American. Yeah,
And he's like displaying Russian disinformation and all of this. But before that, he actually had a good point about regressive leftism and
yeah.
all of this. And this is actually my theory is like from the rise of TikTok, we can
Mm.
see like it's the Russian and Chinese influence because Russia and China knows what to exploit.
Yeah.
They see they see the weak points, which is multiculturalism, racism,
Hmm.
sexuality, trans.
Yeah.
All of these things have been weaponized using propaganda and disinformation, and mainly TikTok. If you look at TikTok, it took Western people 22 years to praise Bin Laden
Yeah. I know.
on TikTok.
Can you believe that? Can you, like? It's like, and you know what? I sort of I've come to a point where I don't blame them. I don't blame Russia and I
No,
don't blame China, because the thing is, if I was in their position, I might be doing the same thing, right? Because it's like, if I want to take over the West, without having big confrontation, and people think
You
Russia
can't have
and
a
Ukraine.
conflict. You're gonna get killed.
Yeah, but that's why, like, and Russia have seen, like, they tested the waters with Ukraine. They've seen, like, even with Ukraine they can't go ahead, right? So even Ukraine is like kicking their ass. And so compared to other proper countries who have even bigger armies and, proper ammunitions and stuff,
And
they won't
actual
be
NATO
able.
members.
Yeah, exactly. They
Yeah.
they won't be able to last with them, no matter how much trans and this ideology has come into the army in the West. When it comes to actual war, the real men are still here, right? So they,
Yeah,
they
and it
will still
doesn't matter who
rise to the
controls the
occasion.
drone,
Yeah,
right? You can
yeah,
be trans
yeah,
you're still
exactly.
controlling a death
Yeah,
drone.
yeah. When it actually comes to fighting, then the real men of the West, because they don't have an option, because they
Yeah.
is their home, they will rise to the occasion. I am pretty sure about that. But still, that point that they're demoralized to that point, right?
And
So this is why I don't like the conspiratorial right or the left on
no.
both sides. They're over focusing on the enemies. It's like, recognize your
Also,
enemies.
it's a horseshoe. They kind of meet each other at some
Yeah,
points.
but they, you know what, like, they're over focusing on the enemy, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, just recognize the enemy. China is your enemy in economical terms, trading terms. They're already taking care of, they're already taking over Africa and all these trading routes and stuff, right? Be wary of that, try to counter that. Russia is your enemy on the eastern borders, so they are trying to destabilize you with the energy lines and stuff like that. So what does that tell you? Well, you concentrate on yourself, you make better trade routes to undo China's. You take control of your chips and stuff that you want and not be dependent on Taiwan. You take care of your own energy, start creating nuclear energy reactors and stuff. Stop being dependent on the oil of Russia, right? Concentrate on yourself. Islam, you have to recognize this is a problem, right? So stop giving, don't, like, we in the West, people need to stop crying about the Islamists so much and
Well,
start saying,
I
like,
think
we have
they've been
laws.
given some kind of a false dichotomy of Islamism, because what we have been taught in Finland is that Muslims are doing Islamist and terror stuff because we are being so racist and marginalizing them, and we are putting them in some kind of a situation that kind of forces them to become terrorists, and which is absolute bullshit. Because the racism and the marginalization and the oppression I've seen in Finland doing against me,
Yeah,
I've been fined, I've been labeled, I've been told to get out of the country, and all of these. And according to their theories, I should be a super terrorist,
hmm.
right? But I'm
But
not.
no, because it's your
Yeah.
nature, right? So okay, I want to talk about that left thing, but before that, I want to discuss this, like, Islamist issue, right? So the Islamist and moderate Muslims and stuff like that. Because the thing is, a lot of people I see on social media, they have even though they might mean well, they have very cursory knowledge of Islam itself and the many different sects within Islam and many different kind of bad faith players within Islam, and then the good faith players as well, because they exist within Islam as well, right? So they start saying things like, okay, there is no moderate Muslims and there's no difference between moderates and Islamists. And I say, well, you know what, my parents are still Muslims. I know
Yeah.
there is a real difference. It
My whole family is.
Exactly. So you can say their
Yeah.
voice doesn't matter, that's a different thing, right? But you can't say there's this. I can never imagine, like, my dad all of a sudden, because there's more Islamists around him, strapping a bomb around himself and coming, like, there is a difference between. Otherwise, you would have the whole of the nations. This is what I try to tell people. The whole nations would be attacking you if there was no difference between moderates and Islamists. Then Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Iran, and so would declare open war. Iran,
Yes.
okay, bad
There
example.
are
Sorry, Iran was
there.
a very bad example. They are Islamist. I meant, like,
Iranian government is, but most of the
yeah,
people are not.
exactly, right.
But and they, but I think like the Ben Shapiro actually had a good
Mm,
video
mm,
about this. Like it's a circle. Like you have these terrorists, right? Which are
yeah,
supported by Islamists.
yeah,
And Islamists are supported by the conservative Muslims.
yeah,
And the conservative Muslims are supported by the moderate Muslims,
yeah,
and moderate Muslims are supported by the liberal Muslims. And
yeah.
they all
That's very good. Yeah,
play into the
yeah,
actual like terrorism
Yeah.
by supporting, and you can actually see it now.
Yeah.
You see, you see normal, moderate, liberal dressing Western Muslims, educated people defending Hamas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like at the same time, when I talk to my parents and stuff, they say like, we don't understand, like, and they are not in the West, right? So they are back home, right? So they're saying they don't understand what the hell is wrong with these Muslims. Like,
yeah.
how can they're saying, how can they be Muslims, call themselves Muslims, and then commit
And then go
crimes
kill
against
and
innocent
terrorize,
people?
and
Yeah,
yeah,
but they're like, they don't, their version of Islam is very different,
it's
right?
different. Yeah, and I
And
think they're
Sufis will
very
be different as well. So,
ironically, the moderate version is the false version. It's very
oh
ironic.
yeah, yeah,
It's very ironic that, like, just like saying I'm a Christian, and then you don't
yeah,
do anything that
yeah,
Christianity
yeah,
actually requires you.
yeah,
And that is the best kind of religious people. The
yeah,
the hypocritical religious
yeah.
people are the best kind of religious
Yeah,
people, because they
the,
don't actually follow all of these barbaric things.
exactly. I mean, they are following religion for the spiritual element of it,
Yeah,
right? So, because they
yeah,
want
and
a
they just
spiritual.
happen to be born there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If they were Jews, they would be moderate Jews. If they were
yeah,
Christians, they would be moderate Christians. If they
yeah,
were Hindus, they would be moderate Hindus, right?
yes,
So people in the West, when they say, "Oh, they are not real Muslims," like, yeah, yeah, we know that, but that's good. Like, that doesn't mean that we exclude them. That doesn't mean that we're
yeah.
supporting terrorists. No, they're if our Western government supports the moderates to reform the religion, that's where we should be going, right? So how do we do that? In my point of view, is sort of like very simple: follow and implement your laws equally.
Yeah.
Do not make allowances for Muslims. Stop making
But
letting the extremists come over here from abroad and like teaching you, right?
but they think they have this thinking that they are so much above in like terms of rights, that they have to equalize the rights by giving some special privileges.
That's the problem. That's like,
Yeah,
like
that's not equality.
no, that's actually hurting the Muslims themselves,
It
because
is.
a lot of the moderate Muslims, a lot of the Arab nations now, they want to go progressive, right? So I have a problem with Saudi Arabia, but I know the intention of the Saudi Arabia is to go more and more progressive and leave their restrictive things behind,
Yes.
right?
And,
But when we
this
keep on supporting Islamists over here, we are not letting them make that
no,
step.
we're not. And what I actually think is like in these Dubai and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and we can see this previously very conservative Islamists being modernized and being moderates, because they understand what Islam is. They have a cultural reference
Yeah,
to it, and they
yeah,
know how to combat radicalism. But the thing is, in the West, we have no idea. These
no,
people have
no,
no
no, no.
idea, and that's why they are enabling and actually feeding and helping to grow radical Islamists. Like some refugees, very liberal, moderate refugees, they come to Finland, but their children are put by the
Exactly.
Finnish government into some mosque, because
Mm,
they're like, oh, you have a right to your own religion. So they put them in the mosque, and in the mosque there is some Salafi, Wahhabi,
yeah.
crazy Islamist imam teaching them crazy shit that they would never
Mm.
hear in Middle East.
Or in their home, they would not hear
They
that in
would
the.
never
See,
hear
the
that.
thing is, like, okay, so this concept, I'm pretty sure you're aware of the concept of munafik, right? The people do not understand, right? So a munaf for people who don't understand, a munafik is someone in Islam who says they believe in Islam, but they don't follow the exact things of Islam. And within Islam, they are a bigger enemy than the kafir, right? Because a
Yeah.
munafik for them is a bigger enemy than the kafir. And this
The
is the
people we call the
huge,
best religious people, they're
yeah,
called
are
the
the
worst
munafik,
religious people.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, the concept of munafik was there at the start of Islam, because at the start, when Prophet Muhammad was there, they were trying to build this, they were the entrepreneurs who were trying to build this religion of peace, right? So so they didn't wanted people deviating, right? So they build in this fail safe mechanisms, that, oh, someone says something against Islam, kill them. Oh, someone who's not following it properly is a munafiq, because they wanted to take away doubt.
Yeah.
Because and
They act like mafia.
Yeah, yeah,
They kill the members who leave. They collect protection money, jizya,
yeah,
and they act like a mafia.
yeah,
And the rules are like a mafia.
yeah. So, but you can understand someone who's starting out such a regressive or such an ideology, a new brand new ideology, that they would want things like authoritarian things like that, right? So when, if we take our mind out of like it's Islam, even if like Christianity when it first came in and stuff like, and when it was becoming more popular, they had these sort of things in them, like the blasphemy laws and stuff, like because they wanted people to
Yes,
like
yes,
don't question and stuff. So that happens, right? But over time, as progress has happened, the Muslims, the actual Muslims, they have realized that those things were put in place for a reason at that time. And just like Christians, they wanted to move on from it and reform those parts out of Islam. It's like we don't need to kill ex-Muslims. We don't need to constantly fight the Jews because pointless. They wanted to get rid of those things. But
but they're
because
saying it
we
openly.
yeah,
They
but
are
because
afraid. They're afraid that Islam will die if they don't kill, if they don't threaten,
exactly.
if they don't do
Yeah,
this. They are
but the
afraid.
but the actual moderates, they think that the people that they call munafiq and stuff, the people, they are scared for Islam as well, because they see that Islam is only headed towards extremism, and
Yeah,
their people, that their children will not take their heritage of Islam, and they will start becoming more and more like us, like ex-Muslims, which might be good for us. But if we put ourselves in their shoes, they are losing their connection, right? No matter if it's good or bad, doesn't matter, like, just like we are losing our connection in the West with Christianity. It doesn't matter if Christianity was bad at the start and stuff, right? But if we lose those bases, if any set of people lose their bases, then they're open for radicalization into something else. That's why the West has been radicalized to woke ideas. It doesn't matter if you believe in Christianity or not, that doesn't matter, but you have to understand where you came from and that you still carry those traditions. Just like that, I think, that's my belief, that those real moderates, that's what they're thinking. It doesn't matter if you believe in all of the Islamic nutty things, but it
yeah.
matters that you're connected through that, so that you
Well,
have a tradition.
like talking about mythology, I think like Arabic pagan mythology and Islamic mythology are one of the most interesting ones.
Hmm.
And you shouldn't be losing your cultural connection to it. I still have the cultural connection, of course, but it's like well, Finnish people have Christian cultural connections, but rarely nobody here actually believes in God.
No, but it's
Yeah,
not important, it's irrelevant, right?
I've always said that like the bad things that were made in the name of Christianity were
Hmm.
actually very far away from the teachings of
Yeah.
Christianity. So when Martin Luther wanted reform,
Hmm.
and reform means going back to the
Yes.
original teachings, which was the peace and love
Yeah.
message of Jesus.
Yeah.
But when we talk about reform of Islam,
Yeah, it's a different, it's a different.
we will end up
Yeah.
with ISIS.
Yeah. See, because I talk about the need to reform religion a lot, right? Because but
Yeah,
our
but that's not
reformists are
what you
different.
mean.
No, no,
That's
no.
not you
Yeah, yeah.
mean. Yeah,
That's a very
yeah, I
good
get
thing.
it.
That's a very good thing to point out, because I don't think so. Because in my head, it doesn't mean the same thing, but people might
It
not
doesn't. Yeah,
understand that, right?
yeah.
Because our
Because
reformists,
ISIS thinks that, oh, we're reformists. We
yeah,
are going back to the
yeah,
original teachings of Muhammad, which is
yeah,
like vastly different,
yeah,
180
yeah,
degrees vastly
yeah,
different from Jesus ever did.
yeah.
And going back to that is ISIS. And
Oh,
and you and me, when we talk about reform in the context of Islam, we actually mean
going away
progressiveness,
from the
going
fundamentals.
away from the original
Yeah.
fundamental.
because
Yes.
because okay, see this idea of mine, right? So my basics, I don't know that much reformism. Since I left Islam, obviously I left a lot of interest in Islam, because they have like, I don't see Islam as a continuation of Abrahamic faith. I see it as a corruption of Abrahamic faiths. Because
Oh, it's a parody,
yeah,
definitely.
exactly. Because when you read the Bible, when you read the New Testament, Old Testaments, yeah, you filter out the bad parts, whatever. But it's the stories, right? So the stories and mythology, they have a reason, and when you read them, you sort of think it doesn't matter whether God is real or not. That's a metaphorical truth that is being told to us by our ancestors, right? So the story is as real as it can be, because it doesn't matter, is the lessons that it's trying to teach us, right? So you take those parts, but when you see the stories within Islam, you see that they are twisted,
They're
not
the
for
same
the
stories
morals.
copied with the broken phone and made a
Yeah,
parody
but also the reason is not to teach us the morals in that story. The
of.
reason is to say how Islam is better, or how we can control, like there's a practicality to the, it loses its divinity, it loses its spirituality, because
Islam doesn't have spirituality. You know
exactly, it
this.
is so
We all
practical.
ex-Muslims know this.
Yeah, that's why
There is,
Sufism was built. That's why Sufism was
yeah.
built, to combat that lack of spirituality within Islam. And it deviated so much from Islam that all of its practices are so much different. The Darweshi dance and stuff like that, so much different from Islam.
There is no this in Christianity, and especially nowadays, and they have this metaphysical, philosophic thinking, higher
Hmm.
thinking. Like they, we can call this spirituality,
Yeah, yeah,
but I think Western people, what they don't understand, they compare Islam to other Christian religions when Islam is not comparable to
no,
other religions. Islam has not a single bit of spirituality. It's all based on actually secular things,
yeah,
which is a
yeah,
oxymoron, but it's actually a very secular in the mean
yeah.
in the way that everything you do is it's nothing to do with spirituality. It's like
No, it's so
which
practical. The God is so practical. And
yes, which foot do you step into the
yeah,
bathroom? How
yeah,
many times you
yeah,
wash your ass?
yeah,
Like these are crazy things.
yeah. And like I always say, like if communism had a religion, it would be Islam, because it's
Oh
so
yeah, and we
perfect.
can see it now.
Because it's so perfect, right? That's the
We can see
same.
it now.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same patterns, you know. Because
It is.
it's not about spiritual, it's about fooling, like,
It is about worshiping a person, which is
yeah,
Muhammad, and
yeah,
communists had Stalin and Lenin and
yeah,
all of these. It's and yeah, of course, Christians have this identity of Jesus also,
yeah.
but
But
Jesus is
it's so different, because the thing is, like, Jesus did not give revelations, like the Jesus did not dictate Quran,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
He did
no,
not dictate a Bible. The
no,
Bible is the culmination of many thinkers over many time, right? And
many
they
different books.
exactly, and they've been thinking over it. They've been It's mixed with a lot of Greek mythology because of that
Yeah,
region,
yeah,
because it's mixed with. That's why the wisdom within Bible is not divine in the sense that it's come from God. It's divine in the sense that it has
because
come from our
it's so-called
ancestors.
inspired by God.
Exactly,
So
it's
inspired.
inspired.
Yeah,
Yes, and there are so many
but
things within it which could be true, like,
yeah, and but you know what Muslims would say? Muslims would say, "Oh, the Bible has been corrupted and changed so many
yeah,
times
that's what
and
was told
translated
to
so
us.
many
Yeah,
times, and it lost its original meaning, and the Quran has never been changed, and it came straight from the God."
yeah,
And they would actually think that Quran is better in this aspect. But
yeah,
you and me, we think a little bit different.
yeah, because we have actually read the Quran.
Yes.
And it is so badly written. It is so
I read the
badly
Old
written.
Testament. I read the New Testament. I read the
Yeah,
Quran. I've actually read this Scientologist books.
yeah,
I've read Mormon books.
yeah,
I read Buddhism. And what I can say is all the other religions, even Scientology,
yeah,
has a spiritual aspect to it,
yeah,
but Islam doesn't. It's
yeah,
so much different. It's so much different.
yeah. And you know what? This was the because I left Islam. I don't know when you left Islam. I left Islam when I was 15, 16, like in my mind. But it took me 5, 6 years further on, because I come from a family which is very religious and stuff, like
Yeah,
not religious in that sense, but more like on the Sufi side, right? So
yeah.
we have a lot of Sufis and stuff within our family. It was hard for me because I was more religious in that sense than my parents, right? So I was more adherent to, because we had a connection with the Wahhabi faith and stuff. So I was more of a Wahhabi, than anyone. Like I was like more concentrated on the text of Quran, but I wasn't taking the bad parts, because the thing is, I think like a lot of it is also about your personality. the way your personality is, you're going to mirror the points within Quran then, right? So I wasn't latching
Exactly.
on to the, even though I was a Wahhabi and I was like, okay, everything is Quran, I don't care about hadiths that much because they cannot be verified. Everything I'll take from Quran, right? But I wasn't taking the bad parts because it wasn't in my nature. I was only taking the good parts or whatever and then expanding on it from my own understanding. But where I conflicted with Islam was the God being a bit too practical. And I was thinking about it so much, but then 9/11 happened and I saw like people in Pakistan celebrating and stuff. At that time, I went to Pakistan. In the age of 15, I went from Kuwait to Pakistan at that time. People celebrating 9/11, the death of innocents and stuff, and that put me off. It's like something wrong is going on. And then I saw within Islam the not the concept of takia, because people do not understand the concept
No,
of
no, they don't. That
yeah,
Takia is a right-wing
yeah,
conspiracy.
yeah.
It's not what Muslims
No, no, no.
think that they do. It's not like something they.
Shias do. The Shia faith does that. So
Yeah,
they do takia as a form of their faith because they had a lot of problem with Sunnis persecuting
and they
them.
had to
They,
lie so they
yeah,
don't die.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, but people don't understand. Like they just say, oh, they are allowed, but there is an allowance within Islam to lie, but it's not preferred, right? But still there is an allowance, right? And that was a huge point for me to say, like, what the hell, because God is supposed to be unreasonable. God is not supposed to be reasonable. God, for me, God is supposed to be so unreasonable that you cannot reach the standards that he's put for you, because the point is the process of trying to reach the standards, not reaching the standards.
It's like pi constantly getting closer to zero,
Ex-
but never actually
Exactly.
hitting it.
Is the concept of that, right? So if you're in danger, you should be able to lie, but then you're committing a sin, so then you ask for salvation, right? Because that's a God. The God is not like, he doesn't want to
There
be
is no
reasonable.
there is no asking for salvation in Islam. I've never seen it.
Well,
It's not like Christianity. Oh God, please help me
the
or
thing
stuff
is,
like
like,
that.
yeah, because there's no concept of priest absolving your sins and stuff. There is a concept of sort of like a salvation. It says that you can ask, you will be forgiven no matter, like, unless you've done a bigger sin, right? If you've done a minor sin stuff, if you pray and your heart is pure and asking for forgiveness, God will forgive you, right? But there's no direct transaction, right? So in Christianity you can go to confession and
Yeah.
you can confess your sins and stuff, and you can be absolved of your sin. So there's like actual something happened and then you're relieved and then you can be a good person. In Islam this will still hang over your head. So you will become more and more extreme because you'll be like, okay, well, this, you will try to justify
Well,
your things.
I think it's more like a psychology in Christianity. You go, for example, Catholic people, they go to the priest and ask for forgiveness, and the priest can actually give them the forgiveness.
Yeah,
But in Islam, you cannot really ask anything from the imam. You
yeah,
just go to listen to the imam, and you go ask Allah for
yeah.
forgiveness,
And
which
Allah
doesn't
doesn't talk
exist
back.
and will
Yeah,
not even give you that.
yeah,
So you're kind of stuck with your sins.
yeah. Yeah, but there was that's the thing. Like there was so many fundamental things within Islam that and when I started reading other religions, when I started reading the Bible, that's what really got me off Islam, because I was like, well, you just cheated, like,
Yeah, you just copy
you
it.
just plagiarized it, like, what
Yeah.
the hell, man? Like, and it's
And
not a
very
good copy
badly
as well.
plagiarized.
Exactly.
Like if you read the Quran, you're like, these people don't understand anything about
Yeah,
Judaism, Christianity. Who wrote
yeah,
this book?
yeah. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, because I was like, well, you didn't take all the good part, like the morals of the stories, and what are you
Yeah, you
doing?
just change the names.
Yeah, exactly, like, yeah. So
Yeah.
like, about your journey, like, when did you become?
Oh, I was never really, really, really
Mm,
more
a
like
Muslim,
a
Muslim.
cultural,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
and that, and I had some, like, when I went to school in Finland, they kind of wanted me put me in a religious Islamic
Mm,
mosque and stuff like that, and that never really happened. And my mom, who raised me, is a commie,
yeah,
so
so
that's not really gonna happen. But the thing is, like, I had some, like, connection to Islam and Muslims when
Yeah,
I
because
was
they will
growing
be
up, because
around you. So
yes, and when some, and even though in my head I didn't really believe in God, like if somebody asked my religion, I would say Islam. and
yeah.
and that kind of like, and later on when I was a teenager, or before that actually, like I said something where somewhere along where you don't really believe in Santa, you don't really believe in all the stories that you've been told as a kid.
Hmm.
Something around that time, I started realizing that this is
Yeah.
not actual
Yeah.
reality. It doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
But like I was never really praying Muslim or stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it was a bit different for me because I was in an Islamic country.
Yeah.
I was born there, and then I went to Pakistan. Actually, when I went to Pakistan is when I lost my faith because I saw the people, right? Because I was like in Kuwait where I had like reasonable people in front of me who are following religion very personal, like they had their faith was very personal, and their faith is very personal and stuff. You're not allowed to go on loudspeaker on the streets and stuff. You're not allowed to protest with your faith and stuff like that. The Shias are not allowed to do, like, that during Muharram, that they do, like, beating themselves.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We
Yeah,
had we had
crazy people.
a couple of months ago. We had Shia
Yeah.
Islamists on the
Yeah,
streets
people
of
don't understand,
Helsinki
like,
actually doing
yeah,
that.
people don't understand how much the Saudi Sunnis and stuff hate that part of like their religion, because it's you
It
know
looks barbaric, and they don't want
yeah,
to
it is
associate with
barbaric,
it.
like,
Yeah,
it's people, there's ambulances going around with their protests and stuff because they're beating themselves with swords and stuff. But anyways, like, I grew up with that sort of Islam, right? So I didn't have the hate or anything for Islam because I was only seeing the good parts, and I was taking the good parts from my parents because they were not, you know, idiots basically. Like, they were they were city people, they were metropolitan people, so they were more cultured and stuff in that way, right? And every because for them it was sort of like, Islam or any religion, their relationship is personal with God because they were not sure, right? So this is something that my parents always like said to me, like, that you should be sure about your faith, but the thing is nobody is sure. So don't be arrogant that you know
yeah,
everything. It's like, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Sunni Muslim, like my parents used to say, but I don't know. I'll get to know on the day of judgment if my religion was the right religion or not. But I need to have enough humility in me to be able to admit I'm wrong if I'm shown that I'm wrong, right? And that is very unusual for a lot of Muslims. That is only usual for moderate Muslims. That's why I keep on telling people that this right, this so it comes from right wing, or like it's not really to do with right wing, but this concept like, oh, there's no moderate Muslims and there's no difference. The only difference between moderates and Islamists is like, oh, the moderates think it and the Islamists do it. It's like, there's a sea in between. There's a sea in between moderates and Islamist. And the more that we keep on antagonizing
oh,
the sea.
it's just as it's just as there is a if you look at Christianity, there is a billion sects, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like that in Islam.
Yeah, it's a
It's not
spectrum.
like, yeah, it's a spectrum of things. But the thing is, the spectrum of Islam, if you look at the extremist side, it's longer than the Christianity.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Christian extremism is a fringe
Oh,
thing.
it's such a small
It's a
fringe.
very small thing. But Islamic extremism is a mainstream thing in
Yeah,
the sense that when we talk about moderate Muslims, we're actually talking about minority.
yeah,
We
yeah,
are we it's like most, I'll say, like most of the Muslims in the world are conservatives.
hmm,
They are not necessary people who would honor kill, or who would
no,
join
they're
to do
socially
terror
conservative.
attacks,
Yeah,
or they're socially conservative. Okay, they're homophobic, they are
yeah,
anti-Semitic, they
yeah,
are all of these things, but they would never actually like go and behead anyone.
yeah,
And most of the world's Muslims are people like this.
yeah,
But the West doesn't understand that they are still conservatives. They are
yeah,
still homophobic. They are
yeah,
still transphobic.
yeah,
And why are you taking these people into your leftist parties? You're
yeah,
supposed to be a liberal.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, and they think those people are moderates, but those people are not moderates. They're just normal Muslims, right? So
They're
there's
just
normal,
mainstream
yeah,
conservatives, I
and
think. Yeah.
then there's Islamists who go a bit too extreme, right? But then there's moderates who are very different from these people,
Yeah.
who you won't see wearing hijabs, who you won't see like, you know, being way too conservative. They would be liberal and stuff. These are the
Oh
moderate
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Muslims.
A couple of years ago we had a pride parade in Finland, and we actually had a block of Muslims marching in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
pride parade, and they were like gay Muslims, trans Muslims,
yeah.
and they still call themselves Muslims, and
Because they're
they
culturally Muslims, like they're gay Christians and stuff, right?
yeah, 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 and but the thing is like they were still religious, but they were like they were saying that like, oh, Allah will forgive me anyways,
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
Muhammad wouldn't actually hate me and stuff
yeah,
like that. And I thought it's okay. I'll give them that, and I'll support them because I know what Islamists would do to
yeah, yeah,
munafiq people like that,
yeah,
who
yeah.
are like what I say. Those are the best kind of religious
Hmm.
people, and I would like to protect them
Yeah,
also from the violent Islamists. But the actual problem in the West is like Western people don't really differentiate. They don't see
no,
the spectrum. They don't see the
no,
different colors. They don't see the difference between you and me and a crazy Islamist who would
yeah,
actually behead somebody.
yeah,
And they try to put everybody in the same mold
yeah,
and try to like mold them in the same shape and
yeah,
way into their
yeah,
democracy and freedom of
yeah,
liberalism. But it doesn't work like that because
no,
if you treat the beheading Islamist as you would treat any liberal person, you, you're just gonna help the beheading Islamists.
yeah,
You're not
yeah,
going to oppose him. You're just actually feeding him at that
yeah.
point.
And you know what happens is like when you go like when you put them in the same box and you start treating them all in the same way, no matter which political side you are, that's pointless, right? But if you just start saying, oh, the moderate, like I was saying, oh, moderates are the ones who just think it and the Islamists just do it, so you're just equating them all, right? So you're attacking their whole basis of a human being and their whole community and stuff like that. Then that's when the moderates become radicals, because
Yeah,
they have no choice. So the C is like, even us ex-Muslim, we have come over here, uh, and then the left is betraying us. In the same way, those Muslims have come over here, and then the conservative right is betraying them because they are not differentiating between them. So they're saying like, well, we can't, like, these white people or whatever West people, they're not really in our favor. So they fall back on that, and then that's how their kids become radicals, because
yeah,
that's how it becomes easier, because then the Islamists can come and say, look, see, they all think you're the same. They
yeah.
all hate you, they all like treat you the same. And then that's how they become. This is what I'm trying to
Uh,
tell people who are like, even people who are following me, that please differentiate. All Muslims are not the same, but all Muslim, like the moderates, really have to speak up. I do, like, that's
well,
why I'm
I think
poking them.
like forget about Muslims. You have to first teach Western people that all immigrants aren't the same.
Hmm.
Forget about Muslims because they actually think like anybody from Middle East is the same.
Yeah,
Like any country,
yeah,
any
yeah,
ethnicity, any they don't see
yeah,
the plurality.
yeah,
So first we have to teach them that there are differences between migrants, then there are differences between Muslims.
yeah,
But this is a long
yeah,
project, I think, because
yeah,
but slowly and slowly, I think like the
yeah.
more they get familiar with Islam, the more Islam knocks
Hmm.
on their door, they will be forced to learn about it.
Yeah. And also I think so, but we have, like, I think so, a lot of people have to be mindful that it is not the West's problem. So the West would be in their right to kick out all Muslims,
Yeah,
regardless whether they're
yeah,
moderates or they're extremists, because they're not helping themselves, right? Because the thing is, like, your religion should be second. You should be integrated into the Western project. If you're not
yeah.
integrated into the Western project, then you should, you know, uh,
You're a
They
foreign
have every right to.
bacteria in the body. Like if you want to become a part of the body, you have
Yeah,
to be good bacteria. You
yeah,
have to be good cell. You have to
exactly.
actually
Yeah,
power the
yeah,
body. But if you go into the body as a virus and a
yeah,
non-beneficial bacteria, the body is gonna reject you. It's gonna want to get rid of you,
exactly. Or
right? Yeah.
you start becoming a bad spike
Cancer.
protein vaccine that you're helping the virus as well,
Yeah.
like, right?
Yeah.
But like, so there are like two different points for me. First point is for me is sort of like there are differences between Muslims. All Muslims are not the same. They are actually true moderates that we should be helping, because they are the only ones that will properly integrate into Western culture, right? And they want to do it. It's just that you keep on letting the extremists from the community come over here so much that they feel pressured and they feel feared. And then the second point is, that is the point of me being an ex-Muslim, is actually, in reality, I actually don't care about any of them, any of the Muslims, in reality, right? Like, I care as a
Oh no,
as
no,
an
I care
ideology. I
a
don't care.
lot. I care
No,
about
no,
my
no.
people. I want them
But
like
people, that's what
yeah,
I'm saying. No, 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 this
yeah,
this is different, right? So I shouldn't say Muslim, I should say Islam. I don't care
yeah,
about any of the ideology of Islam. I am
yeah,
only saying about the moderates and stuff. I'm trying to poke the moderates and Muslims by criticizing Islam, because I want them to wake up, because I want to protect the people, right?
yeah,
But as an ideology, from whatever the spectrum is, from moderate to Islamist, I actually want this ideology gone from
yeah.
the West and
It's
from the
I
world.
don't I don't I don't criticize like this is what leftist people when they for
Hmm.
example leftist Western people when they read my text they think that oh this guy is criticizing Islam because he wants to harm Muslims, he wants to
It's
harm immigrants.
opposite of it.
He It's the opposite of it because those are my people. I'm
Yeah,
still Kurdish, you know, I'm
yeah,
still Middle Eastern.
yeah.
And I want the best for them. And unfortunately, Islam is not the best for them.
No, no. I mean, our histories of those regions are so rich, right? Like, look at Iran. The history of Iran, the history of Persia is like
Thousands of years.
they have such amazing history, such amazing things that are happening in that region and stuff, all taken over by this backward goat herder of an ideology,
And
right?
under 100 years.
Yeah, look at what's happened with Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
Pakistan is a country on stolen lands, and I'll say that to piss off as many Pakistanis as possible. This is not your lands. This is Bharat. This is the lands of the Indian people. All right, and their history is the one of the oldest history that we have. One of the oldest languages is Tamil. One of the oldest religions, one of the oldest ones is
One of the oldest
Hinduism.
civilizations is Indus Valley.
Indus Valley, which is in
Yeah.
Pakistan, right? So
Yes.
it's sort of like, those are your roots that you are missing out.
Yes.
Look at the Arabs and stuff. Their history go way back and way back and way back, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
some of their history is irrelevant because they have never been a relevant people. So we have, in the Arab, what we have done is we have elevated the Bedouins, the nomads with no culture, no history, no anything, to a point like we have really raised them to for Pakistanis to worship them, right? Just
Yeah.
because they're Arabs. It's like, no, no, no. Your history is actually a lot richer than the Arabs. The Arabs were
Yes.
always a part of a backwater sort of
Well,
area. Not
there is a
always, like
reason
certain sections of it.
There is a reason why Islamists go and smash old statues and history and
Yeah,
cultural sites.
yeah,
It is to erase that
yeah,
because if people are aware of their past, if they're aware of their connections to way bigger
yeah.
cultural continuum, they're most likely to reject Islam because they see much more greater
And
things on their
that's the
past.
connection with communism, isn't it? That's what communists do.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what they do. They erase and start again. And that is actually what wokeism is. If
Yeah,
you look at
yeah,
if you look at wokeism, it rejects and erases all of the cultural and historical
everything.
connections that people have to anything.
Yeah,
And then they put in your head a new idea.
yeah,
They
yeah,
mold you basically. But this is indoctrination. Like
yeah,
to brainwash somebody, you
yeah,
have to empty their brains first.
yeah. I mean, there's something controversial that I've been saying recently. is I've been telling the British people to go back to your churches, right? So like I'm not an atheist, I'm like an agnostic, you know, but I'm sort of
Oh,
like,
I'm very militant atheist.
yeah,
Like
right.
yeah,
I
I'm
used to
pretty
be.
sure there is no gods.
I used to be like at your age is when I left that part of it, like at the age of 30, 31, I left that my anger towards that. But
Oh,
like
oh, oh,
no, 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 but
it's
it's
not
not
about,
anger. I know.
yeah,
For
no,
me, it was anger, right? But
no.
I understand atheists as well. So because I relate to atheists a lot more than I would relate to anyone else, because I don't believe in the God of the book, right?
No,
Uh,
no, but I'm not saying that I'm not spiritual. Like I
yeah,
do, I think nature in itself, the universe, the nature, it's so complex, and we don't know
yeah,
shit about it.
yeah.
It's so mysterious that it gives me enough of the spiritual fulfillment
Yeah.
that religion would
No, but
give.
that's the thing. But that's why I don't denote God to an entity, right? So this is the difference with me. With my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
agnosticism, my God is not an entity. It's not a person. It's not a thing.
It's
It
not a
can be.
deity.
It's open to interpretation. It's a placeholder name, right? It could be just the feeling that I get from my like the ancestors and stuff. It could be like the collective unconsciousness that is there, that is coming through years and years of DNA. Like it could be anything. It could be the energy that started everything and is
we
still
still have
in
no
the.
idea how the brains work. We
Exactly. So
like, yeah.
I'm open to that sort of a thing. But the reason
Yeah.
why I've been saying to British people to return to your churches is because the concept of Christianity over here, or the version of Christianity in England is different, anyways, right? It's not that extreme.
You have
But
the English church, basically.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
different
churches.
from the
Yeah,
other. Yeah,
yeah. So
and it
my
was actually made because your king wanted to marry more women than was
yeah,
actually
yeah,
allowed.
very, very, very valid reason, the best reason that you can find.
He should have just converted to Islam then.
uh, but like the thing is, Christianity is something that I see it as a threat to Western values and traditions. This is something that everything is based upon, because I don't like I don't agree with the enlightenment coming out of nowhere. It came out of somewhere, and it came out of years and years of Christian, Judeo-Christian values and thinking, and the reformations in
Oh,
Christianity
science and
are.
religion used to go hand to hand
Yeah,
in Europe.
and the
It was the same
reformation,
thing,
yeah, and
basically.
the reformations in the religion are something that paved the way for enlightenment and stuff. But I just see that this is a thread that everyone can follow, and the further apart that you go from this thread, the more you will be divided, and the more the other people can come in and overtake you, which I see it as happening, right? The churches are being left empty, and the concept of going to the church is not to worship God. In my point of view, is to keep your connection with your traditions and with your community, and it is to show the other people that this is your community, this is how we do things, these are our traditions, these are our values of charity, our values of helping each other, our values of holding everyone equal, on and on and on, right?
And I
That's
think
why I'm telling people like to go back to your churches, because you're losing that concept of your community, not for God. But maybe some of you go for God, because some of you can fucking use God, right? Some of the people can use Jesus,
yeah,
really, like.
definitely. But I think the like if you look at like Western converts to Islam, it's
Yeah.
mostly because of this, because they do
Yes.
not have a community. They do not uh, have people who think like them, and they need approval. And it's very easy to convert into Islam, because if you, as a Westerner, go into a mosque, you're gonna get love bombed, right? You're
Yeah.
gonna get,
Yeah.
oh, brother, sister, yeah, blah
Especially
blah blah.
guys. Especially guys.
Especially, yeah, and I think also like women, they get like, oh, you put the hijab, oh my God, you're so beautiful with the
Yeah.
hijab, it
Yeah.
fits you so good,
Yeah.
and all of this is very easy to go into it, and especially Finnish people who have never been really religious, like
Yeah. Yeah.
the church here is like basically woke communism. It's not
Yeah.
Christianity,
Yeah.
and and it's very easy for these Finnish people to find that missing thing inside, which is built into all people. We are always lived in communities. People do not survive without
Mm,
communities, and
mm,
it's something that we are genetically built into. And when the Western society in Finland went to individualism and started like, oh, we are all basically avatars and stuff like that, they started to lose that communal sense, and it's very
yeah.
easy for Islamists to come in and give that
Or
communal
anyone,
sense.
anyone. That's how Marxists take hold. That's how this woke ideology take hold, because you lose your connection, right? And
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of
do you remember when you were younger? You remember when you were younger? The your friends were not so communal than compared to the younger generations who work like a hive mind.
yeah, yeah,
Have you noticed it?
yeah, yeah. Because
So
I had friends till I even in Pakistan and stuff, all from different sects of Islam as well. And me, like I left the religion, I was still within the friend zone, right? So we were still discussing and stuff, all different political spectrum. None of us agreed with each other, but all of us loved each other, right? It was very like it was very normal. But that's not what I see now. Now it's like everyone has to think alike in a friend group.
oh yeah, you have to belong to a group.
Yeah, and you have to like even like finish each other's sentences, sort of like that is a friend group. It's like that is not a friend group. That's like I don't know what that is, because that's not
Oh,
friends.
it's like I don't know. The Gen Z, they have these words of our mutuals,
Yeah,
and they have more communal thinking. Like I remember when I used to grow up, when we met with our friends, we wouldn't really shake hands or give each other hugs. We would be like, "Yo, what up, dude?"
yeah, yeah,
But if you look at the newer generation of Gen Zers with the more communal communist
yeah,
woke thinking, they shake, they give hugs to each other. They're more
yeah. But
communal, which is
but the
nice. But
no, but the thing is like the is that really a communal like is that really an actual community? Because that's fake, right? So like I'm saying, like my all my friends, we weren't that like lovey dutch, like so, that sort of a thing. But we were more of a community because we accepted, we had actual tolerance of different ideas, and we all loved each other enough, we supported each other no matter what that person was saying. That was a truer community. This is a fake community, like, oh,
it
lovey
is, it
dovey and
is.
like hugging, because you have to overshow your affection, right? Because you're not sure, because like you have to say, oh, do you agree with me or not, and stuff like that. And when trouble happens, these are the friends that are missing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
They're
how
not there.
yeah, it's not communal. It's like it is communal in the sense of communist, but not
Yeah.
really communal in the sense of an actual community. And that's why that's why that controversial thing that people have found controversial, atheists basic especially, that I'm saying go back to your churches, because they're not understanding what I'm talking about. I'm talking about go back to your communities. So if you are a Protestant faith, you go back to your churches. If you are like a Baptist church, you believe, go back. Catholics, you go back to that. Judaism, you go back to your synagogues and stuff, and to ring your church bells. That's what I've been saying to people. Tell people that your traditions are good. If you're secular and stuff, it doesn't matter, you still go to the churches. There was a reason why most of the thinkers of the Enlightenment era never supported atheism, in that sense, because they saw like atheism is good on individual basis, but it makes you very individual. It's not a prescribed thing for everyone, because when everyone becomes an atheist, then we have
You need a
issues.
certain mental strength to be
Exactly.
alone. Yeah.
Yeah. And because I've seen people who are atheist, but I asked them, like, this is when I came in 2010, right? And this is when as soon as I came into UK, I started feeling betrayed by the left. I have
Oh yeah.
just stepped into the West, and I was like, I'm feeling, because I came in, oh yeah, they're my friends or something, like, a year or two pass, and like I'm meeting with people and stuff, and I asked them, like, why they are an atheist. Like, oh yeah, because it's all shit, isn't it? Like, it's not real. Like, and they had nothing more than that to give me.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, do you understand why I am an atheist? Why I left Islam? Like, I risked my life. I spent 6 years dealing with an ideology and struggling with myself. I had internal struggle, I had internal dialogue, I had to read books upon books upon books to converse with
To
myself.
find your
Exactly.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you just like, whatever. It's like,
Oh, they
that's
don't.
not why,
They
like, this
no.
is why. And those are the sort of people who become atheists, are the ones who lose their way then, and then they can be radicalized because this is empty for them.
Yeah. That well, my journey was more like, well, I always kind of knew there is no supernatural, but I was really curious about it
Hmm.
still, and still am, still am.
Yeah.
I talk about religion every day,
Yeah.
even though I'm not religious, and still I'm very interested. And my journey to atheism was more like, oh, I'm just gonna find out about everything,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then I'm just gonna make my
Yeah.
own interpretation of it, which led me to realize that okay, most of the deities that religions have, or the entities, are just
Yeah.
projections
Yeah.
of people's thoughts, of people's
Hmm.
idols, of some great men who have ascended to godhood, and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And which made me then question, okay, what's the reality of the universe, and would the god be somewhere there? And this is a question I cannot actually answer. Nobody
Yeah.
can answer, because we as human beings, if, like, let's say if there was a god, like you said, the
Hmm.
practical god doesn't really make sense. It has to be something that doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
doesn't, you cannot grasp. And
It
I
has
think
to be out of our understanding.
yes, and if I would prescribe a god without like believing in a deity and entity, I would say it's this whole universe. It's our
Yeah.
brains.
Yeah.
Our brains are the projection of this universe. If you
Yeah.
look at our
Yeah.
inside of our brains, it looks like the universe. And I would say we don't understand a lot about it.
Yeah.
So it's a mystery. So if I had to prescribe a god and give it a label, I would say it is this
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. I mean, so
And
you can
that is,
call
yeah,
it, a god, but your definition would, because it's like the same for me. It's a placeholder name. For me, the
yeah,
name doesn't matter. It's like what it represents, something else for me, you know.
yeah.
But
And I don't
you
think the god actually like really cares what we
yeah,
do.
yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's
I
more,
think so. If there's a god, it would be very indifferent to us.
yeah,
It wouldn't care, right? So
most likely.
so this is the thing, right? So the your kind of atheism was my kind of atheism as well, and I'm still that kind of atheist, right? Because that is more close to being agnostic, because that's saying
Yeah.
like, I don't see the utility of god, but there could be one, and if it presents itself in one way or another, I'm open to it, right?
Oh, I don't even think that like, even if it would exist, I don't think it would like bother presenting itself to some
No, but I mean,
monkeys
like
on a
in
planet.
any sort of
Yeah.
concept that it brings up, like the concept of it being in the universe, or like,
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah,
make discovery
yeah.
and we find out like the wavelengths from the Big Bang and stuff, and that is the thing that we are made, whatever the fuck, right? Because I don't know about those things, but like you can understand that, like you can denote to that you are not materialistic. And
Yeah.
this is the problem that I have with atheism, that for years and years and years after, because I have had like probably two major changes in my head. One was leaving Islam, which was a major thing, and one is leaving the materialistic atheism, which was again a major thing after another 10 years like of leaving Islam. Think so that has anything to offer people? I mean, it
Yeah,
is.
no, it doesn't. It like, and in this sense, atheism, it's just like, I don't believe in
Yeah,
deities, but there
beyond
could be
that. Yeah.
forces. They could be
Yeah.
beyond things
Yeah.
over my
Yeah.
understand. There could be alien civilizations that are on a
Yeah.
level of a god that we
Yeah.
don't even
Or
realize.
they could be nothing. It's just our connection to each other. That's what we feel like,
Yeah.
but just our connection with each other and every living being and the nature around us, like that being a god, like, us ourselves being connected to parts
Oh,
of
it's
god,
like you
right?
said, it's a placeholder. It's a
Yeah.
placeholder. But I'm not saying that like I do agree with you. I don't really like these negligent materialistic atheists that just plainly reject something because they don't even read about it, they don't even
Yeah.
know about it. They're just like,
Yeah.
they're just rejecting because of just rejecting it and being ignorant about
Yeah.
things. I don't really like that kind of like, for example, for a long time I used to read Richard Dawkins
Yeah.
and his books and stuff, but uh, lately I've been mostly like he's being this type of
Yeah,
materialistic
yeah, same.
atheist
Yeah,
that doesn't leave room for stuff that you wouldn't know. Like
yeah,
there are stuff that I don't know that I don't know.
yeah. You,
Like
I would put it this way, right? So it's sort of like going and asking advice of someone about football who says they don't like football and they've never seen football ever in their bloody life, right? So it's sort of like, well, you don't know then about football, do you? So you haven't thought that much about it. I
yeah.
would go for advice. I love Richard Dawkins, right? So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and but I've never gone around him to seek advice about God and like to
No.
listen to his some of his ideas I can see because in space of God and stuff, the books that he has written and stuff, but it's sort of like, you are concerned about different things. And this is something which reminds me, this is something that a lot of intellectual atheists do. They think that everyone has the same mental capacity, that they can distinguish moral good and bads just by themselves thinking. And it's like, no, you are falling into that liberal crap now of believing everyone is equal. Everyone is not equal. A person who's below 100 IQ is not the same as a person who is above 130 IQ, right? If you're above 130 IQ, 120 IQ, you can be a good atheist, right? Below that, whatever forms, I think so, you need religion. You need a religion, you need a guiding principle. Now
Yes.
that
Yeah.
religion might have a god or not have a god, but you need a guiding principle because you cannot think about everything at the same time, right? So you need, and also, even if you're above 130, because what is going to happen if you don't have that guiding principle in society, you'll go into things like eugenics, because this is where it will lead you, because you're thinking just from your thinking, and you haven't considered other things that along in traditions and stuff that your ancestors have thought about, and that's why they have said no to certain things and yes
Well,
to
we
certain
can
things.
actually see the rise of trans. I think, like personally, I think the
Exactly.
rise of
Yeah,
trans ideology is a form of eugenics.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's something that came out of that, but
It's a form of, and these are the traps of liberalism when it doesn't know when to stop, right? So it
like
keeps on going.
progressivism, it's
Yeah,
like just progressing
yeah,
endlessly
yeah.
to the void
It is
without
a
knowing where
progressive
you're going.
liberalism, and that's why I keep on saying, like, no, this is why you need more both conservatives and liberals. And you can't say, oh no, all conservatives are
Oh, but
bad. No, 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 you need
nowadays
someone to conserve.
the terms are
Yeah,
so mixed
yeah,
because like
they don't
talk about
understand that.
traditional conservatives, I see a lot more liberal thought in them
Yeah, yeah,
than traditional
yeah,
leftists that are really authoritarian right now. So
yeah,
the terms are like I don't think the left and right and liberal and conservative, they don't really even make sense anymore.
yeah. No,
Like
they
you know what
don't.
I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, they don't, because people are labeling themselves as such, but they are not behaving as their labels, right? So
Yeah.
they're saying they're liberals, but
It's more
they've
like getting the
actually
mantle of
illiberal.
it. It's
Yeah,
like
this is my thing, right? So if I want to, like, let's say, just take this example in this space, if I want to think about religion, mythologies within Bible and stuff like that, I'm not going to take the view of Richard Dawkins. I'm going to go to Jordan Peterson, right? Because
oh yeah.
he has
Yeah.
spent so much time thinking about it and taking out the psychological morals from it and stuff, that he actually makes Bible so much more interesting than Bible actually is, because
Oh
he's
yeah.
delving so much deep into it. Now, you might not agree with everything that he says, but it's the stories, the mythology within it, and you can appreciate in that context, right? But when I see atheists, I see them, these certain kind of atheists, they have there's no capacity in them to appreciate things that they don't agree with anymore.
Oh well, I think myself as I like, for example, Nikola Tesla was an atheist, right?
Yeah,
But he was very spiritual. He explored dreams and meditation and he was very smart with high IQ.
hmm.
And he would say that there is no deities, but he wouldn't deny that there could possibly be
Yeah,
bigger things going on, and that is just absolute ignorance to deny the possibility of things that you don't know that exist.
exactly. But we, like, I can apologize for them. I can be Christian apologist or not, but that's not the point. The point is like taking
Well,
things,
actually, you can see this
appreciating.
dynamic. You can see the Christian ex-Muslim dynamic also. With You've probably seen Apostate Prophet Ridvan Aydemir. You know the guy, right?
Yeah,
Apostate
yeah,
Prophet,
yeah.
and he does a lot of videos with David Wood, who is a Christian
Yeah,
apologist,
yeah,
and they work together, and they come along together, and you can see that how a ex-Muslim, which is an
hmm,
atheist, can come along with a actual believing Christian,
yeah.
and they can work together.
And you can
But
see with the Ayan Harsi Ali as well, going to
oh,
pretend like, so
she
you can.
converted to
Yeah,
Christianity, but she
yeah,
had the same. She kind of had the same idea than you do.
yeah.
That I don't think she really believes in a
No,
God,
no, no,
but she
no.
she went to that because of the things that
Yeah,
you also pointed
yeah.
out here.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah, I think.
I think so there's a baseline which people need to understand, like, that we are snaring at something that we do not understand the importance of. This is something
Yep.
that has kept the barbarians at gate. For because we have right now, people need to recognize that, not like trying to be a fearmonger, but we have enemies, we have real enemies, and they have breached our defenses, and they are within us. Yeah, and their name starts with Muhammad bin whatever, whatever, right? So
Osama's and
yeah,
Mohammed's.
yeah, the
Yeah.
bins and bin Ladens, right? And
Yeah.
these are within us. And the thing is, this is not a new enemy of the West.
No.
This
No.
is one of the oldest enemies of the West,
Yes. Yes.
right? So they have to recognize this, like, okay, we need to deal with this, but we don't need
Oh,
to deal with it disproportionately as well.
in Christian, like in the Western tradition, like for example, whenever I talk about Islamic terrorism, some white person will come and say, "Oh, what about the Crusades?" Without even realizing that the Crusades were actually a defensive battle against invading Muslims, and it was only a couple of times that actual Crusaders went into Jerusalem, and even then to liberate it
Yeah,
from oppressive
yeah,
Muslims. And,
yeah.
and they do not realize this actual history,
No,
that the
no,
Crusades were not some evil white colonialist people
no.
going to kill poor brown people. It was actually the underdog defending
Yeah.
itself from hordes of Muslims.
And they also don't understand, like, now what I've seen since 7th of October, since Hamas's attack as well, like, people don't understand the importance of Jerusalem to the West, to the Western project. I mean,
Yes,
that is the direct correlation. If you let go of Jerusalem, right, at this
it's
point,
done.
you're given
They
up.
it's you basically told them they won. That is their
Exactly.
goal.
But
That
people
like
don't
after
understand the
Jerusalem, it's
importance.
Rome.
Yeah.
After Jerusalem, it's Rome. That's what
Yes.
they say. They openly declare this. After Rome, it's the UK.
Yeah.
After UK, it's Washington.
Yeah.
And this is not me saying this. This is actual Al Qaeda and Daesh
Yeah.
and ISIS people openly
Yeah.
declaring their motives
Yeah. And this is the true betrayal that I feel as an ex-Muslim. It's like I came over here
to help you guys.
and to
And you
seek,
spat on me.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and to warn you and to seek refuge, right,
Yes.
from the crazy. I left the crazy back home, and now you being more crazy than them. It's like I sort of feel like I want my money back. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I
this
I
is
want the years.
missold insurance to me.
I want those years that I helped you gather all those votes in the leftist
Yeah,
parties. I want those years back. I
yeah,
want apologies because
yeah,
I feel so betrayed by these people who are
yeah,
openly opening the gates to the darkness and
yeah,
barbarism
yeah,
that we seek refuge from.
yeah,
We come from the darkness into the light only to see people into the light welcoming darkness.
yes.
And that is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I'm done with the political left for
Oh
now.
yeah.
I was like,
Oh yeah,
no,
everybody is. Everybody. I think
I
everybody is.
yeah, because I'm like, I've always been a social conservative, up to a point, but not that much. Like I'm more liberal, but I have a lot of social
Oh,
conservatism. But that's
I'm
because of
very
my
social
upbringing.
liberal.
Yeah,
I don't really care what other people do. Like,
yeah. Well,
honestly, I don't
no,
care.
in that way, I am liberal, right?
Yeah,
So I don't care what individual people do, but I care about what society allows to be done or not, right? So,
yeah, yeah.
because I
For example, for like gay rights and people getting married, and
yeah,
definitely, I
yeah,
support
yeah,
it. I
yeah, yeah.
support it.
Well,
But
no, I
when
don't
you
think so.
come,
Any social conservative in England are against gay rights.
no,
No
no,
social conservatives
it's
are
actually
against that.
become a very conservative things to.
Yeah,
It's
to
actually
support.
become
Yeah,
conservative to support gays,
yeah.
but like then we
Because
see
they,
this
they want
trans
them
IG.
they want them as a wholesome, like people as like part of families and stuff, because that supports
Yes,
the idea of social conservatives rather
yeah,
than them being
and
more
I have
families.
no problems against that. But then we can see this new movement of trans ideology,
Yeah, no,
which although I am very socially liberal, I am very against,
yeah,
because it is not the same as two adult individuals loving each other. That
no,
is not it. Trans
no,
ideology is not about that.
no.
It's about like, if you think about like a couple of years, 10 years ago, when young girls had identity problems, they were like,
Yes,
oh,
yeah,
I don't want to be a girl,
yeah,
oh, it's gross to be a girl, oh,
yeah.
my boobs are
They'll be
growing,
like
I'm
tomboys or
bleeding.
stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah, and people would back then teach them that, oh, being a woman, it may seem now bad, but it's actually very good. You should be embracing your womanness, you should embrace your
mm.
femaleness and stuff like that. But nowadays what we do, we go to the young girls and we say to them, oh, you don't like to be a woman, you
Be
can
a
become a
boy.
man,
Yeah,
be a boy. And you just cause them more problems, because there is no possible way to them to actually become boys.
yeah,
That is not possible.
yeah,
It's two gay person loving each other, very possible.
yeah.
You changing your sex,
It's
not possible.
yeah. It's sort of like, so there's like two things, right? So what I see is like the LGB part of the LGBTQ. LGB
I
part is
definitely
normal.
support it.
Yeah,
I
LGB part I
definitely support
support
it.
it because it's normal. It's about sexuality, right? So it's
It's
about
about,
sexual
it's
preference.
nature. People
Yeah,
have been like that
yeah.
since forever.
But LGB is about sexual preference. Anything
Yes,
apart from ahead of that is about mental illness. And it's
and
actually,
ideology.
yeah, and it's actual mental disorders, and that's not
Yes,
being
yes,
disrespectful. It's actually recorded mental disorders, having gender
yes,
dysphoria, having
yes,
like weird kinks and stuff like that.
yes.
And they cannot be together. They need to be
No,
treated separately, because
and
that's
actually, if
like,
you the homophobia that is coming from the trans community
yeah,
is absolutely disgusting.
yeah,
It's that they hate themselves that they're gay, so they want to become straight by
yeah,
changing their sex, and then after they change their sex and become straight, they go after gay people.
yeah, yeah,
That's
because they're
crazy.
like, yeah. And the huge part of another betrayal from the left to such people, to the gay community, is this, is them not supporting them. And there's so many people, and there's so many atheists supporting this as well, which is again, I
It's
feel like,
crazy.
wait,
Like,
these, you call yourself like intellectual, so much intellectual that you don't believe in the god shit, blah 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 blah, and then you're saying a man can be a woman. It's like, dude, like, you know, sort yourself out. Like, what are you doing? You know,
it's madness.
because
It's
because it's the same factor. It's the same factor of people becoming atheist, denying God without replacing that with something concrete. So you open yourself up to any sort of bullshit,
Oh
right?
yeah, and
Yeah,
that's why you see, and that's why you see these climate activists for
and they're so
Palestine.
irrational. They are
Very,
as
very,
irrational as religious zealots,
very,
because
because they can be you can replace anything. Like, oh, I'm a climate activist, but today I'm a climate activist for Palestine. Today I'm
yeah,
a climate activist for trans. And it's all the same bullshit
yeah,
of emptiness that
yeah,
can just change with
yeah.
trends,
And
and
because
it's crazy.
because I think so, I don't know. I think so. They made that into their identity, right? So when they make the climate thing or trans thing into their identity, and you try to tell them, look, we need to have discussions around it, because it's not all real and stuff. And
Oh yeah.
You're attacking their identity, right? You're
Oh
attacking
yeah.
their core,
But that's the
so they
same. That's
can't
the
take
same.
it.
That's the same. I hate straight people who make straightness and macho-ness their
Yeah,
identity.
yeah.
I hate gay people who make being gay their identity.
It's
And
like,
of course, I'm gonna
yeah,
hate trans people who make that their identity because
it's
that's a
something that you
sexual
do.
preference.
It's
It's
something that
just
you
yeah,
do. It's not what you are. It's like, you know, I don't like, it's so foreign to me, like this idea of identifying with things that you do so much,
yes.
right? So it's sort of
It's
like,
crazy. It's like
it's like
I'm a
calling
chicken
myself,
eater because I like
yeah.
chicken.
And anyone says like, oh, I actually don't like chicken, you'd be like, you know,
You're against my
yeah,
identity.
yeah. This is my chicken, you want to take my chicken away, like, so I just don't understand this, because I wasn't brought up like that,
No.
like, with that concept. It's like I was brought up with that doubt, like anyone can challenge your ideas and stuff, and you're not your ideas. You have to be flexible enough, because you can't be married to your ideas, because you need to change your ideas as you grow older. You need to develop them, you need to challenge your own ideas.
Adapt them.
Yeah, all the time you have to
Yeah.
challenge your ideas so that you don't get trapped into something.
And because you will get radicalized, as we see these people
Yes.
who are incapable of adapting, learning, growing, and only making a part of their identity, in the end they're going to be radicalized because the world around them is changing, and if you don't
Yeah,
can't adapt to change, you're going to be a radical.
yeah,
And we can see like the trans movement has been radicalized, leftists
yeah,
have been radicalized,
yeah,
both people have been radicalized because in the end, like you said, they're very empty-headed. Like so,
yeah,
anything can actually
yeah,
radicalize.
yeah. And then, yeah, and it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing, because when we were in those, when I was like in Pakistan and stuff, we used to have this concept like, yeah, I'll go to Britain because people are so much smarter over there. Like,
Oh yeah,
they're teaching
yeah,
good things in the school. Their lessons are so much better. We are teaching
yeah.
shit over there or here. Like, people know more things. And when I came to England, I realized like
Oh, these
that
people are
England,
dumb.
yeah, I was like, damn it, because the England of my head is not the
So much
same.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was apolitical, a little bit younger,
Mm,
when I actually believed all of this bullshit, all
yeah.
the leftist bullshit, and was
Yeah.
a leftist. I used to like when I used to call my relatives in Turkey. I would tell them, "Oh, Finland is so progressive, so schools
Mm,
are so good, the people here are so
yeah.
smart, so much better than over there." And that I would nowadays never say
No.
things like that,
No.
never, because once you see what it really is, it's actually not so much different than
No.
the places we
Because
come from.
it's actually worse, because you see the intellectuals, the actual intellectuals being really stupid and very
Yeah.
dogmatic, right? So back
Yes.
home, our intellectuals were being persecuted because they did not were not dogmatic, and they were like
Yes.
saying everything has nuance, everything is not fixed, you need to think and stuff, and that's why they were being prosecuted.
Yes.
Intellectuals over here in the West have become dogmatic,
Very dogmatic,
and it's
and
like, you're not
especially the
intellectuals.
leftists, especially the
And
leftists, and I.
all of them are leftists in our universities. Now,
Oh yes.
who would go to Oxford or Harvard or Cambridge now? If I had a company and I had someone from Harvard, Oxford, or Cambridge,
Berkeley.
I will not give them a job,
No,
because I
no.
was like, I already know what you think.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and we have the same thing. Like the Helsinki University is highly
yeah,
known
yeah,
from its wokeness. Aalto University, another one in Helsinki, is highly known for its wokeness. Even Tampere University, which is another city, is very known for its wokeness. And Tampere was actually in Finland. Like Finland had a civil war against
mm,
the communists, against the whites,
mm,
which were not communists, Finnish people. And communists were backed up by CCCP, and they
mm,
had a civil war. And the city of Tampere was the main capital of these commies and the origin of the Social Democrat Party in Finland. And still, it's the same. Still the same. If you go to the Tampere University, all the teachers over there are the descendants of those same commies, of those same ideas, of
yeah.
those same Russian, Soviet things.
The
And
West should have dealt with communism a long time ago.
it's trendy. It's trendy nowadays to be communist because it's very trendy to be
Yeah,
anti-West. It's very trendy to realize your own whiteness and realize your own sins and realize
White
that you're a
fragility and all that
colonialist and
crap.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and they are being they are being taught into this weird sense of virtue that you have to like dissect everything about your identity and culture and be very critical of it, while you are not critical at all
Uh,
by the other people that are actually coming inside your country.
yeah.
And that is absolutely craziness, because what they're trying to say is that you are worse than the worstest people on the world, and you're trying to say that only white people are smart enough to be evil.
Yeah.
Those those brown and black people, they are so primitive, they couldn't do
No.
evil things. That
Tell me that what you were telling me before we started recording about that case that you had on you.
oh uh, well, I'm mostly known from like in the year 2006, which is actually when I became in the public space. I was a member of the Social Democrat Party. 2016. This is a long time ago. I was a member of the Social Democrats Party, and I was actually going into the politics. I was going to be a candidate, and then I saw that the Social Democrat Party itself, the leaders of itself, invited a Al Qaeda Islamist who was and this was when Syrian war was going on, like the Syrian war where Al Qaeda was fighting in the name of Al Nusra and stuff like that. And the guy was he was previously before joining the SDP party, he was very known as this some kind of a charity guy who takes toys to Syrian kids and
Sure.
collects money. And yeah, I'm serious. He's called
Yeah.
the toy smuggler. He's called the toy smuggler. You can Google it.
God.
He's
Yeah.
called the toy smuggler of Aleppo. And supposedly he gathered toys and donations from Finland and went to give Syrian children them. But actually, what he
And
was doing
nobody
is gather.
nobody suspected anything.
Oh no, oh no. But I did, because I took only one glance of that guy's Facebook and I immediately knew what the guy was. Because Finnish people have no concept of like
Yeah.
he writes something in Arabic, they're not even
Yeah.
gonna know what it is.
Yeah.
He uses some Islamic words like kofar
Yeah.
and majus and
Yeah.
all this terms that Finnish people don't really understand, but I do. And I started to look at his background, and I found a lot of pictures of him praising Al Qaeda leaders, praising ISIS leaders, collecting money without actually keeping books of it or receipts of it, and lying and traveling over 30 times to Syria into the controlled areas of Al Qaeda and Al Nusra. Like normal humanitarian workers cannot go into those areas, but this dude was just going. Later, I found a lot of video evidence of him actually participating in shootings and terror attacks and and in the end, when I wrote this, I made an article about it on Facebook. Actually, I didn't even have a platform back then. I just wrote a Facebook post displaying everything the guy was. And first of all, nobody believed me. Like nobody believed me. I was labeled an Islamophobe, a racist, and a far righter, and whatever. I was still in the Social Democrat Party back then, and my own party turned against me. Like, oh, how can you be so judgmental and racist against this new guy who's coming into our party and blah blah blah. But then slowly the police got involved. They got interested. The anti-terrorism group, the legislations and everything. They got really interested and started to study this guy. Started to look behind his things, and they couldn't really pin him for a terrorism crime, so they charged him with money laundering and money
Mm,
gathering crime, because he had collected something like $80,000 on GoFundMe for
mm,
Islamic charities, which are basically terrorist groups.
yeah.
And then he was like individually collected something along like 250,000. Like the total amount of money he had collected from Finnish people was something around €500,000
Jeez.
for and he was an obvious member of Al Nusra in Syria, and obviously was part of their like terrorism campaign. And he got investigated. He got a 2.5 years of prison sentence.
Just two
He
and a
got
half.
huh?
Just 2.5 years.
Yes, just 2.5 years because of financial crimes. They didn't even charge him with terrorism or anything like that. But it's obvious. It's like everybody in
Yeah.
Finland knows the obviousness of the situation because Finland doesn't really have terrorism laws. Finland is the
Mm.
only country that hasn't charged a single returning ISIS member with
Really?
any crimes, with any crimes.
Yo,
The
what a
only country
deal.
in the world. And if you Google right now, Finland is the number one ISIS country compared to the Muslim population over here. We had the most ISIS fighters that joined ISIS from Finland. We have no terrorism laws over here. But anyways, he got fined at 2.5 years and blah blah blah. And then he took me to court. He said, "Oh, I'm just a normal conservative Muslim. Look, they didn't even find terrorism charges against me. That this guy is calling me a terrorist and an Islamist. This is defamation." And of course, the stupid ass courts in Finland that are all run by some idiot socialists believed everything the dude was saying, and at the same time all these leftists and Muslims were attacking me and labeling me as a far right racist, which the court actually knew. They had read news about me being some far right racist, so of course they fined me almost the same amount as this guy
Oh God.
for exposing his crimes. And that was that's actually what broke the camel's back. That's actually what made me like leave all of these leftist political
Yeah.
organizations, and because I realized these people are protecting and making up excuses for Islamist terrorists,
Yeah.
and they are punishing people like me, liberal, integrated, smart, people who speak the language. Like I felt so betrayed about this.
Is that guy still in Finland?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And actually, I'm waiting for the. I actually won the first court case,
Hmm.
which is the lower court. We call it käräjä in Finland. I don't know what's it called in Finland, but we have three stages of court. Like we have the basic court that I actually won. Decided this is no defamation because it was fresh. The situation was fresh when we first went to the court, and they actually like knew about news, and they knew this guy
Hmm.
was a terrorist, and even though he didn't get a sentence, they kind of knew that he was shady,
Hmm.
and they didn't. They decided that it wasn't defamation. He complained. We went to one upper stages of court. They did the same exact show. The prosecutor and the guy, they did the same exact show as the previous court, and suddenly the decision was 180 degrees different. So I got a
Hmm.
sentence. And now I've complained to even higher court for their response to
Yeah.
maybe get rid of this fine or maybe get some money back that
Hmm.
I've paid. But this is just one case. In 2019, again, social democrats, and now I'm not even a member anymore. Now I'm like their biggest enemy. In
Hmm.
2000, in 3 years, I became their biggest enemy. 2019, I started to notice that there is a guy called Hussein Altae, and I started to notice that this guy is very shady. Like he's like this really handsome, charismatic, smiling guy. But when you look at his social media, he's praising Iran, he's praising mullahs, he's praising Hezbollah. The guy's political campaign party colors were those of Hezbollah's, like yellow. Even though he's
How much
going
more
from
obvious
so
do you have to be?
it's craziness. And he was writing all of these Jew hatred,
Hmm.
anti-Israel, all of this stuff, and I exposed them also. I was like, hey, social democrats, you have another Islamist in your. I took it, and
How
he
many
became
how many Islamists do they have?
a lot. Like all of the immigrants in leftist
And
parties
this,
are
sorry, this was the party that was in power before, right?
yes, and this the second guy I exposed, and well, he became a member of parliament, and I exposed him the day next day he became a member of parliament because as a member of parliament and a public figure he couldn't take me to court, right? I had to
Hmm.
protect myself. I had to wait that he becomes a member of parliament so I have a larger freedom of speech to criticize him, so he
Yeah.
cannot take me to court for defamation, because in Finland everybody just takes everybody to court for
Yeah.
defamation. The speech laws here are absolutely craziness, and
Yeah, we have libel laws over here as well. Like,
oh, it's
you know,
craziness.
yeah.
Uh, and I waited. He became an MP, and the same day he became an MP, I released all of this information that actually went all the way to Israel. You can read Jerusalem Post news about this guy,
Mm.
Hussein al-Tayeh, and he was calling for the execution of the Saudi king. He was
Wow.
calling. He was
Yeah, because
calling.
they don't like the new Saudi crown prince as well, and because he wants
Uh,
to reform the
yes,
religion.
and they're Shias, right? They're
Yeah,
extremists,
yeah, yeah.
and he was calling Israel, like he was making all of these Illuminati conspiracies about how Israel is actually a combination of ISIS, El, and Ra, and
Mm.
they are Satan worshippers, and
Yeah,
he was like making all
yeah.
these disgusting claims. And I exposed him slowly. But you know what's very weird about this is that when I exposed him as being anti-Israel and anti-Semitic and racist, he had a lot of posts about Somali people being inferior. He had a lot of posts
Oh,
about
really?
how how gay people are disgusting, and he was like a
How
lot of
was
these things.
he
But
elected? Like,
oh, I don't know. And when I exposed him, a funny thing happened. I got labeled anti-Semitic.
how come?
I don't know. And after that, I got labeled racist, anti-Semitic, because I exposed this guy's racism and anti-Semitism.
I That
And
doesn't make sense.
it doesn't, but this is exactly what commies do.
Yeah,
This is what they do. They
yeah,
label you as the thing that you
yeah.
oppose. Look at what the leftists and Muslims are doing to Israel right now. Aren't they calling them
Oh, yeah,
Nazis?
yeah,
Aren't they calling them Nazis? Aren't
yeah.
they like sticking the knife into their, like, this is exactly what they did to me. And but fortunately, we had a election this year for the parliament, and he didn't make it
Mm.
at all. And this is not the only Islamist. The leftist alliance in the year 2009 elected a guy called Sultan Said Ahmed from Somalia to be a member of parliament. And I look at Sultan's old Facebook post, and I found that he attended, before becoming an MP, he was attending an ISIS mosque in Finland. And he became an MP after he uh, became famous from giving roses to racists. Right? He was going to these
Um,
far right
oh, right,
protests
yeah,
with the camera and giving racist roses, like, oh look, I'm a good black person. But
yeah.
actually, the guy was ISIS, but leftists love him because he was opposing these far right racists and showing them that black people are good. So leftists fell in love with him and actually like made him an MP. But the good thing is, after I exposed him, he didn't get elected anymore. After I exposed Hussein al Tay, he didn't get elected anymore. All of these people didn't get elected anymore after I exposed them. But each time I exposed them, I had to suffer.
Yeah, obviously, obviously,
I had to suffer.
because and the people that you would expect to protect you from that suffering, from that threats and stuff, are the ones who are just ending up
Oh,
enabling it, and that's
you
the
you
real
you know what I
betrayal.
you know what I thought in 2016 when I was exposing this Al Qaeda guy, Social Democrats, because I was a member of the Social Democrats, and in my head I thought, I'm doing them a favor, right? I'm exposing a criminal, a radical, a terrorist, an Islamist that as social democrats they obviously don't want in their party, right?
Yeah,
This was my
you
thinking.
shouldn't.
This was
Yeah,
my like logical thinking.
yeah,
And what I was
that you're
thinking, like,
helping
okay,
them, like
yeah, I'm helping them. And what I was thinking, that they're gonna kick the guy out, and they're gonna
investigate other
thank me.
people, and yeah,
They're gonna thank me, and they're gonna say, look, social democrats are so good. Our immigrants, our liberal immigrants inside social democrats are so good that they're helping us expose terrorists and Islamists that are the bad guys.
no,
But
but
that
that's
didn't
that's
happen.
no,
That didn't
and
happen.
this is the same betrayal that I feel like, that's why I try telling people as well, like, look, I know enough about Islam, a lot more about Islam, that I could live in an Islamic country and be very well off, right?
Yeah.
Because I can manipulate it, right? But it's because of my own morals that I do not want to believe in something that, or pretend to believe in something that I don't believe in. And also the reason that me thinking that Western values and ideals are far more superior than anyone else It's because of that reason that I've come over here. And now, even when I'm over here, I'm fighting for the Western values and ideals, even though it's detrimental to me. I can go to DEI, I can be ahead of DEI anywhere I want to be, because again, I know that industry well enough to manipulate it. But it's because of my morals that I say, uh,
Yes,
I can't be doing that. But for doing the right thing, we are like, this is how I see the for doing the right thing, we are being punished
of
and
course.
we're being made to suffer.
But the thing is, I had to learn how to cope with this, learn
Yeah,
how to deal with this, because there are things that you just can't really
yeah,
grasp or change.
yeah,
And when you read history, anyone that has spoken the truth, anyone who has actually done good,
yeah,
has been opposed,
yeah,
has been labeled, has been attacked,
yeah,
has been tried to censor. And this is what they do. Even though I am one of the most known immigrants in this country's mainstream media acts like I do not exist.
yeah,
I do not exist. And
yeah,
this is what they do to all truth speakers. This is what they do
yeah,
all to reformists, to all the people who are smarter than them. They will shut you down. And
yeah,
and this is what I've realized. Actual Finnish people, they feel threatened about people like you and me because they see
mm,
that we are smarter, we are more
yeah,
progressive, we are more liberal, we are more scientific, we think
mm,
broader, we know history,
yeah,
we know all of these things, right? That they lack,
yeah,
they don't. So they see us as a threat to themselves, but they don't see Islamists as a threat because they know themselves. They know Islamists are fucking
yeah,
stupid.
yeah.
Islamists can be
I mean, there
manipulated.
is definitely a fact. I mean, also, but it sort of leads me to think like, how long can someone keep on fighting for a people or a country who
It's
doesn't
not.
want to
It's
save itself
actually.
as well? Like, that's the that's the bitterness that starts coming in, right? Sort of like,
Oh yeah,
look,
the bitterness is very bitter. But the thing
yeah.
is that you kind of have to, like,
So
how do I
how
say?
long how long can you keep on doing that till you
Oh,
say like,
forever.
but no, but within Finland, fighting for Finland, how long can you keep on doing that till you
I'm
come
not
to a point where you
actually.
say like, oh, you know what, I'm getting out of it, I'm going to live among people who actually
Oh
have a
yeah. Oh,
sense.
I'm at that point already. I'm like,
That's what I'm
it's not.
saying. And
It's
when
not
people
that
like
I'm.
you and me start leaving these civilizations, that's when they get screwed up, because
I
then
don't
they're
even care
like,
anymore. They can
yeah,
get screwed up. I
yeah,
don't care. Like it's before I used to think that, oh, I'm gonna be a contributing member of society. I'm
yeah,
gonna be a good immigrant. I'm gonna be exactly what they say a good immigrant is, right?
mm,
That was your thought also. Like
yeah,
you and me are the prime example of the integrated
yeah,
value liberal immigrant.
yeah,
And this was I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna help these people. I'm gonna give them the knowledge they lack. I'm gonna give
yeah,
them the perspective they lack. I'm gonna give them the courage they lack. But
yeah,
I realized they just don't want this.
yeah,
They don't. They
yeah.
don't. And you can't force somebody to accept something that they don't. It's
Yeah,
like
that's the
if
thing, and that creates that, like, because you're not gonna live forever. So how long you keep on, doing
oh,
stuff
I'm
like
just
that?
mostly I do this because it gives me a purpose of life.
Yeah, because
Because
you have morals, and you can't just, when you know
be
something, you
silent.
can't. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't.
No,
You know,
no.
because that's why
Yeah.
I said like, if I wanted to be silent and stuff, I could have a very
Oh,
easy and
I could
very
shut
richer
my
life.
mouth and be a multimillionaire tomorrow. It's
Exactly, and
easy.
I
I could
can
shut
use
my
the
mouth.
system. I can
Yeah,
be
yeah.
those one of those people, and there's so many people on the American conspirator right
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah.
left. They're
Yeah.
making money like that because they don't
Yeah.
have morals. They just
Oh,
use
there are
people.
so many Islamists in Finland who are getting all of these aids,
Yeah,
and their mosques are being built, and they
yeah,
get all of these
yeah.
financial
But
aid
I
from all
think
kinds
so.
of.
I still think like it's a bit different in Britain, because I do get a lot more support like of people as right now, right? So
Yeah.
far, of the normal people that I see like there's a tide turning, but I also have a point, right? I have a point of like there's a tolerance point for me as well. And I think so I'm waiting for the next election to see what I'm going to do with my
Oh
life
yeah,
going ahead.
and
If
probably.
Labor comes in, then I don't want to stay. And
Oh,
that's like,
Jeremy
yeah.
Corbyn is such a piece of shit.
I mean,
I hate that
Keir
guy.
Starmer is even worse because he doesn't do anything about it. And I'd rather go to Poland, to my wife's country,
Oh
and
yeah.
because at least they know
Oh, you would
themselves over
love
there.
Poland. You
Yeah,
would
I go
love
there a lot
Poland.
because those people, like, they're different, but they know themselves. Like, they're
Yeah.
proud of themselves.
Yes. And
And
they know
I like
Russia
that
and
in a
they know
people.
Islam. They
Yeah,
know
yeah,
their history has been fighting with Muslims. They have
yeah, yeah.
fought
From the
the
Turks, yeah,
Russians. Yes, they know all of
yeah,
this. The Polish people are very based. I,
yeah,
I do respect them.
yeah,
And like if I would have to escape Europe and inside Europe, that's where I would go.
yeah.
But but what I'm thinking is that we're gonna have elections in Finland in a couple of years.
Hmm,
I'm probably gonna try
hmm.
to to get some, because I know that there are a lot of people in Finland that actually support me. They see
Yeah,
the truth. They want me to do something about the
hmm,
things that they are incapable of doing. Right?
yeah,
They do
yeah,
not have the same knowledge. They do not
yeah,
have the
yeah.
same things
They
about
don't have the
Islam, and they
context. Yeah,
no, and they want me to
yeah,
save them. There's a lot of people,
hmm,
especially you. You also have like those
yeah,
kind of people who support you because they want you to save them because
yeah,
they're incapable of it. And that's what I'm gonna try. Maybe I'm gonna try the political path and
yeah,
fight more,
yeah.
and at that point maybe gain something myself, because until this point I haven't gained anything. I've
Hmm,
only sacrificed and
yeah,
sacrificed and sacrificed.
yeah,
And if that will give me an opportunity to maybe gain some power to change things and gain some benefits for
yeah.
myself, why
No,
not? Why not?
that's all the power to you then. Like,
Yeah.
because
Why
I
why
think so
not?
you're gonna make change, and but you need to take care of yourself as well in the
Yes.
process. Yeah,
Yes.
but I think so.
And
Yeah, I think
and
so.
and, and if
Yeah,
that doesn't work,
then
I'll shut
you
the
have. Yeah,
operation down. I'll go to
yeah,
the Americas. I
yeah,
won't give a fuck about this country. I won't give a
mm,
fuck about
yeah,
Europe. It can all burn. I
yeah,
will go live somewhere in a Texas ranch, get a
yeah,
horse, and just live my
yeah.
life.
That's the
And
thing. Like,
that's
I keep oscillating between those two things in my head, right? Because it's sort of like the same reason that made me speak up against Islam is the same reason that makes me keep on defending Western civilization, even though it's trying to self-destruct. Because I know the alternative, right?
it's like
And that part of me is keeps
scares
on,
you, right?
huh?
The alternative scares you.
Yeah, because I know
Yes.
the alternative, right? So
Yes.
and I keep oscillating between that and that same concept of going somewhere, buying a ranch up in the mountains, or like and just living my life, just be left with my books, and just let be left alone to love my wife, and like just have, like, have a happy family, and just be done with it, right? So those two
Yeah,
are
but
my
that would
like,
be boring, right? That's a backup plan because
yeah.
it's
And that's
boring.
not like, that will kill me. That will
Yeah.
actually kill me, because I'm killing a part of me, which is a purpose, that I
Yes.
feel like, okay, this was my purpose, that's why I came to England,
And
you
talking
know
about identity, it has become some kind of a identity also.
mm,
Like I am this guy who defends Western liberal
yeah,
values. I am this
yeah,
guy who defends Western
yeah,
secular
yeah,
civilization. And you have become that identity. And it gives you purpose, and it's very hard to give up on it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and like also you, like I talk about like a lot of like getting hate and death threats and that, but equally I also get, like, even though the mainstream hates me, even the
mm,
politicians hate me, even though the media acts like I don't even exist, I know there are hundreds and thousands of people in this country that know me, that
yeah,
support me, that would love me to do
yes,
something, that would love me to uh, become something. And also, like, I don't want to betray them also, like,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I,
because you
I
don't want
would.
to become the same thing that was done to you.
Yes.
You don't want to betray their trust, their love, like, their
Yes.
affection that they're
Yes.
showing. I see so much on social media. There's so many beautiful souls, like, they have
Yes.
no connection with me. They have, like, they shouldn't give a shit
Oh,
about me,
see,
but they
there are
show so much
people
love.
there are people who have never met who have acted in the most kindest way that I
Yeah.
haven't seen from even my closest friends.
Yeah.
And it feels bad for it to just leave them into this bullshit and just
Yeah.
get absorbed by the darkness of
Yeah.
Islam. It feels like
I
that
just
to
started
happen
like,
to them.
yeah, I just started blocking those people. I was like, I just don't want it on my timeline. You're not here to contribute anything positive. I'm not gonna even argue with you. You say something really outrageous, so much like, yeah, hide, reply, block, mute, go away,
Oh
go
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. That's
like,
what I do. That's what
yeah,
I do. I don't
yeah,
like hide, block, mute. Just like
yeah,
I
just
don't even because
you can't convert those people. Like, there's no point
and
conversing with them.
it's bad for your mental health.
Yeah,
I used to do that a lot. I would just argue with this guy.
yeah,
I'll tell him
no,
the
it's just
points
so
and
bad.
maybe he's agree. And it doesn't work like that. I've
It
noticed.
affects
I've
you so
noticed,
much, and that's what they
and it
want.
affects me. Yes, and my mental health a lot. I used to struggle a lot with
Yeah,
this, but now I'm a stoic. I don't
yeah,
I don't really like I
yeah,
don't you can write anything at
yeah,
me. You
yeah,
can tell me to do whatever,
yeah,
behead me, kill
yeah,
me, brutalize
yeah,
me. I don't
yeah.
it doesn't
Because
affect
I
me
know,
anymore.
like, I know those are trolls. That's what they're seeking, for you to engage with them.
Yes.
But it's like,
Yes.
nah, yeah,
Also, what I've noticed in especially Twitter right now, the more you block these fuckers,
hmm.
the more followers you get.
Yeah, I know. Because
Yeah.
you're creating that atmosphere where people, you know what it is like, you're creating a positive sort of atmosphere where you're challenging ideas, and people
Yeah.
go on your tweet and they see like none of those people are there, which are being irrational. So then they say, oh, I can actually contribute, or I can ask something, and there won't be that much hatred towards me
Yes.
asking it.
Yes.
So this is what I've seen it, and that's what I'm catering. It's like, I don't want to convince this extremist. I want to converse and convince the middle ground, the centrist
Yes.
and the sensible people. And in doing so, I want to create a space for them where they can express their ideas. But even when they're wrong, then I can express my ideas and I can correct them, or they can correct me. Like, there's a mutual sort of, you know. So I think so
Yeah.
that is the way forward. But I think so. It's 4:30 now.
We're
We've been
talking a lot.
talking, yeah, we're talking a
Yeah.
lot now, but
But
like,
I think
it's
I think we
interesting.
covered it all. I think we
I
covered a
think so.
lot.
We covered a lot of it. So
And I think 2.5 hours is good because we're just gonna start repeating ourselves now.
yeah, exactly. So I'm going to end this now. We're going to end
Okay.
this now.
Okay.
I would just tell people where they can find you, and I'll put
Yeah.
all your contacts anyways underneath.
Hey, thank you very much. I hope we see again. And I have this project of making a ex-Muslim support Discord group
Hmm.
that we could actually like what the Islamists do also. They have these groups that
Yeah.
they attack and protect each other and report and blah blah blah. Maybe we can do something that we can like defend each other on social media. We
Yeah.
can help each other. We can like each other, share each other's things. We
Yeah.
can go report the people who are threatening us,
Yeah.
and like something like this, make a safe space for ex-Muslims.
Yeah.
And I'll send you a link to the
No,
Discord once.
that's a very interesting idea.
Yeah,
I'll say goodbye properly to you after like stopping the recording. So I'll
yeah,
just say to people right now, like, you can find Anter on Twitter. I'll put all the links and everything so people can check him out.
yeah.
And yeah, and just thank you for listening to us, and I will
No,
catch you next time.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, take care.